Oh, yeah, baby. It is a very, very big day here at X-Rated Sports Network. The show is beyond the surface. Dwight Walton's going to be back with us in just a second. We've got Dr. X, the founder, the creator, the patriarch. He's on his way to the airport, on his way to LAX, which is where we'll be over the next 10 or so days. AM Pfeffer holding it down in our LA studios. I'm Rick Kamla. Brandon Armstrong is going to be joining us later. And we have 4 guests for you guys. It's not going to be the long-form stuff we typically do. It's going to be more short, quick hitter stuff. We've got Mitch Lawrence, all friends of the show. Mitch Lawrence at 2:30 Eastern. Coach James Young, who will become a new friend of the show at 3 o'clock. You guys are going to love him. Ryan Hollins comes back with us at 3:30, and Yovan Buha, Lakers insider, at 4:15. So we've got rat-a-tat-tat guests. Doc, we have somewhat limited time with you. So let's move to the top of the rundown here. Jose. The big news today is Giannis will not be traded, okay? And we'll get to that and all the other stuff, the Davis trade, the Harden trade. We're getting to all of it, okay? Doc, you go first. Is Jose enough to satisfy and appease Knicks Nation?
I wouldn't say satisfy. I would say appease for now, only because we know we're at least building. We're building on what we've already established. We haven't broken down any foundational pieces. We've also honored the culture. We've honored what we already built. And I think that right there speaks volumes about Leon Rose and Will World, his other counterpart. And also what Donnie Walsh was saying, not Donnie Walsh, but James Dolan was saying about, earlier on that podcast, how he likes this group of guys and he's rocking out with them. So he right now seems to be a man of his word. He gives people a chance and, gives them the rope until they hang themselves that's his style. If this is what he agreed to, he gives you the opportunity to prove yourself. And that's what he's allowing the Knicks to do right now. So Jose Alvarado is a great addition because Gershon Yabusele really didn't work out for us. I think it had more to do with the system he was placed in than anything. Good guy. He just seemed like he was a deer in headlights, literally. Like I would go to the Garden and he just seemed like always just not settled. But I'm really happy for this trade because obviously we had to pick up Dalen Terry and this allowed us to get rid of some money off the books as well as it was just a 1-year contract. So it falls off at the end of this year. And then we turn that into our guy, Jose Alvarado, also known as Grand Theft Alvarado, GTA. And I just like the grit that he brings, the heart. We have another player. I mean, he's not that tall, but we'll take it for now because you need that fire. Also, Deuce McBride is going to be out with an abdominal injury called sports pugalia, which is a sports hernia, but it's not really a hernia. It's a misnomer. And he's having surgery for it. He takes about, in a nutshell, about 6 to 12 weeks. So he should be ready by playoff time. But all in all, I'm glad about this because I think Jose Alvarado is a great replacement for Deuce McBride. And then hopefully Deuce will get acclimated quickly because he's been in the system for a while. So I'm really happy about my Knicks. I don't think they're done yet. There's probably some players they might be able to pick up in the, free agency or, when they drop players. What is that called, Dwight, when they drop players? And another team picks them up. This usually happens, like let's say, buyout or someone gets waived. Yeah, so I think there might be room for that. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
All right, so to me, Yabusele fell out of shape, especially this year. I mean, he was a large dude. And you can't move when you're carrying all that extra weight. I think that's what befell Gershon Yabusele. AM Pfeffer, you next, man. You're a huge Knicks fan. By the way, congratulations on that. One of the games of the year victory last night. Brunson with 42. I mean, all the great performances. AM, is this enough to appease Knicks Nation?
Absolutely. First of all, last night's game, by the way, let's not miss. I mean, as good as Brunson was, OG. That's why I never want to hear his name in a trade yet again. Offensively, he was there. Defensively, he was there. Not one turnover last night and put up 48 minutes. Keep that man on the team. Is this enough to appease Knicks Nation, a Knicks fan right here? Here's me trading Yabusele for Dalen Terry. Here's me moving Dalen Terry back for Jose Alvarado. Yes, I'm appeased. I mean, Doc, it's not Sadiq Bey, whose name you've said so much over the past 2 months. I thought you were going to, talk it into existence to get him on the Knicks, but I'm plenty happy with Alvarado. They needed to make one move. They needed it to get tougher. They needed a bit more depth on the bench after they've had this big back, awesome upswing into the equation, into the top tier of the NBA. 3 in the East, 3 in the West, and they are firmly implanted. And I love Jose Alvarado on this team. This dude is tough. He's a Knick. Welcome to New York.
Hey, Rick. Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Who do you got? Do you got GTA versus Isaiah Stewart?
Brother.
I'm gonna take guys. Isaiah. I'm going to take – I would take GTA over a lot of dudes, including Mark Williams, who we already beat, but not – I would take – here, I love that question. I will take GTA in a fight with Draymond Green. I promise you Jose Alvarado would beat up Draymond Green and win that fight, and we will raise his hand in the ring, and you will be the victor because Draymond's a fake tough guy, and this guy's an actual tough guy.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you think? Would GTA beat Beef Stew?
He'll at least make him think twice because he knows that he's not going to back down. So he's not going to start anything. But I'll say this: Detroit has about 3 more dogs on that bench between is it Hollins or Hollins and the other guy that
Ron
looks
Holland.
the other guy looks like Urkel, Stephon Urkel.
Dennis Jenkins.
Talk about
Dennis
Jenkins.
Yeah, Dennis Jenkins. He plays like him too. He got game.
I like Dennis. Yeah, no doubt. So Dwight Walton, man, we were talking before we came on the air here. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. You're not a member of Knicks Nation. You and I kind of have a little side piece appreciation for them, but these are the Knicks fans over here. Is this enough in your view to appease Knicks Nation here at the deadline?
Nothing will ever be enough to appease Knicks Nation. I think the ultimate prize was to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I've been saying all season long, let Mike Brown, the first-year head coach of the Knicks, and this roster play itself out. Coming into this job, it was the most pressurized job in basketball because now Tom Thibodeau, the previous coach, set the standard. At least 50 wins and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And when you fire a coach and bring in the next coach, at the very least, the floor was 50-plus wins and getting back to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. So with this roster, I firmly believe that the Knicks are better off this season than they were last season. You have a coach that plays the bench, whether they're playing well or not, because the more you play them, at least they're getting reps as we approach the most important part of the season, which is the playoffs. So whether they play well or not, at least you know who you're eventually going to trust and who you're not going to play. Tom Thibodeau wouldn't even get to that point with whatever roster he had. So, as I've discussed with my cousin, AM, and the rest of Knick Nation, and on this podcast, they were going to make a tweak at the deadline. This is that tweak. And as I mentioned to you off air, Rick, I think this trade works, or this addition works, for several reasons. A, he's a dog. B, he's from Queens, New York. C, huge Puerto Rican community in the New York area. And D, I'm on record as saying Madison Square Garden is the best playoff atmosphere in North American sports. Imagine when Alvarado comes into a game. He's that spark plug. He's that dog. He brings grit and grind to the Knicks organization. And for me, in a Game 6 or Game 7 scenario, he is good for 4 to 6 extra points because of the enthusiasm and what he's going to bring in terms of just the overall loudness in Madison Square Garden in a playoff scenario. So I think it's huge in that regard. Again, it's not the move or the move that Knicks Nation wanted, but I think it's an excellent ad, particularly because of the core muscle issue with Deuce McBride that's going to pretty much keep him out for the rest of the season. And I'm not so sure how much shape he's going to be in even when he returns to the Knicks lineup. He may be able to do it in spurts, which is the whole idea of a role player coming off the bench for a championship contender. But I think this will give Jose Alvarado plenty of time to acclimatize himself, not only to the Knicks roster itself, but the overall fan base. I think this is a home run as far as Knicks Nation, Madison Square Garden, the enthusiasm, the atmosphere come playoff time. I think it's awesome. And one thing before I get off here, the reason why they got off of Gershon Yabusele's contract, not only is the in-shape issue, he has a player option in the second year of his contract. The Knicks wanted no part of that, so they parted ways with him now, so they'll have even more room on the cap whenever they see fit to use that part of the contract for roster moves going forward.
So I love it. I don't want to, say what you guys have kind of already said. You guys have laid it all out beautifully. When I first saw, 2 months ago or whatever, the Knicks had their eye on Jose Alvarado, immediately I knew that was a fit and probably likely to happen. He has no future in New Orleans. He's a New York guy. And what I know about Knicks fans, they obviously, they're bloodthirsty to win, but they want you to play hard. They want you to spill a pint of blood on the floor at Madison Square Garden, metaphorically, and Jose Alvarado will do that. He will immediately ingratiate himself to Knicks Nation. So let's move on to the Giannis situation. Shams reported today that the Bucks aren't moving Giannis, and they're trying to trade Ja Morant. That's kind of what we're waiting on here, folks. It's 2:13 p.m. Eastern time. We are 47 minutes out from the deadline of 3 p.m. Eastern. So Ja Morant could be moved to Milwaukee. Ja Morant's kind of the Davis has been traded. We'll talk about that. Giannis was not traded. Kuminga was traded. And then Ja Morant was kind of that other fourth guy. He may be on the move today. So the question is here, guys, and I'm going to set it up and give you my answer. Did the Bucks bamboozle the Timberwolves? Momentum was building for Giannis to go to my Wolves, okay? Brett Siegel reported Giannis has the Wolves at the top of his list. They were talking, nothing happened. The Wolves made 2 trades on Tuesday, 3-teamer with the Wolves, Pistons, and Bulls. The Bulls got Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley, who already was moved on to Charlotte. Pistons got Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric, and a 2026 first-round swap from Minnesota. All right? The Timberwolves had the option to get Kobe White or Jaden Ivey in the deal, but declined on purpose to leave space for Giannis, according to Daily Wolves. Okay? So the Wolves foolishly passed on Kobe White to pursue Giannis, ended up with no Giannis, ended up trading for Ayo Dosunmu, who I think is completely overrated. He's like a more Western-style Terrence Mann. I'm just not into it. I'm not, okay? That's a huge downgrade. Going from Kobe White to Ayo Dosunmu, it's a huge downgrade. And a huge loss for the Wolves. The Ayo trade, they give up Rob Dillingham, who was like the 10th overall pick last year. What the hell's going on there? Leonard Miller and 4 second-round picks, okay? Now, to my answer. Did the Bucks bamboozle the Timberwolves? Kinda, but it's not the Bucks' fault. This is big-time poker right here, okay? The Wolves bamboozled themselves. If you have a chance to get Kobe White, you do it. You don't deny the bird in your hand for a bird in flight, okay? Doesn't make any sense. They had to gather up necessary pieces to gather up draft picks to make the Giannis deal happen. They should have had resolution that we weren't going to be able to acquire those draft picks and then say, okay, we're going to take Kobe White instead of declining him. And check this out. Gary Wolfel, who's been a longtime Bucks insider, reports an NBA team stopped pursuing Giannis because they felt his ego wouldn't allow him to be the second option behind their star. Who is Gary talking about? Duh, the Timberwolves. Okay, why would it's and the other guy, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's the number one. Okay, like there's not even a question about that. If Giannis went to Minnesota, there would be a question about who's number one between Giannis and Ant-Man. But this is the dumbassery of the Timberwolves. Why would you let a 24-year-old Ant-Man, who is clearly not serious enough to win a championship right now? He's got that last hump to get over, okay? He hasn't done it yet. Been to the West Finals twice. He's on the ascent. I see it. I think he'll pop and be a champion one day. But he ain't that guy right now, okay? So you trade for Giannis. You make him the one. He's a proven champion. Duh. Hello. Anthony Edwards is 24 years old, still figuring this thing out. So you bring in Giannis, you make him the one. Ant-Man, you're 1A or partially a 2. I don't damn know. Let's go win a freaking championship. Really? Ego? Give me a break, dude. So this is new ownership. Remember, ding dong, the witch is dead. Glenn Taylor no longer the owner, right? Well, new ownership, same dumbassery from my Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's go around the room. Dr. X, did the Bucks bamboozle the Timberwolves?
Well, I mean, given the information that you said that Kobe White could have been in a Timberwolves uniform, that would have been a very dynamic backcourt. One that I think would be better than, it may not be box office in terms of the high flight scenario with those guys, with John Morant, but Zubac to the Pacers. Okay, Dwight, I see you over here. But ultimately, I like Kobe White there because he could shoot. And Ayo Dosunmu, I'm not sure if I think he's a dog. I like that about him, but he's 6'4". He's going to be coming off the bench, so they just have more depth. I don't think they solved the point guard problem. And so that's the issue I'm seeing with all of this.
Mute Rick. Mute Rick.
Pardon me, I was going to Twitter there real quick. We do have news. You mentioned it. The Clippers are trading Ivica Zubac to the Indiana Pacers. Chris Haynes is reporting this. I'm seeing it on NBA Central. I'm sure Shams is going to be all over it too. We'll come back to this Wolves topic, but let's honor the breaking news here. What are the Clippers doing? What are they doing? Like you trade James Harden to bring back Darius Garland, and I know he's hurt and all that kind of stuff. But Darius Garland with Zubac, with Kawhi, I mean, you've been winning all these games. You've been on a complete heater. And now you trade Zubac, one of the best double-double guys in the league. I mean, we got to find out the details on the trade. I love it for Indiana, okay, because they lost Miles Turner. Bam, now they got their 5, and it doesn't matter this year, but it's going to matter big time next year. So let's give us some quick instant analysis on this. Dwight Walton, you go first, man. Zubac is a Pacer. And what the heck are the Clippers doing, man?
Here's the thing, Rick. It would have been the perfect transition to have Darius Garland as your point guard and Zubac, who's arguably one of the better, not arguably, but is one of the best centers defensively, who could also get you 20 and 10 in the NBA currently. He may not be the classic center that the Golden State Warriors obviously covet, and where a 5-man is going to stretch the floor. But here's a traditional big who could actually play in today's NBA. He may not be the most athletic, but he's a capable mover of his feet in screen roll action. He's not a liability out to the three-point line. And here's a player that is willing to play the center role. What do I mean by that? He's a capable offensive scorer over either shoulder with the jump hook. He's a willing offensive rebounder, as one of the best offensive rebounders currently in the NBA, has terrific hands, is willing to muck it up, and rebounds at an elite level. Also, what's mind-boggling about the Clippers, they do understand that if they play poorly for the rest of the season and don't make the playoffs, can we all guess who gets their pick if they're in the lottery this season?
OKC.
Oklahoma City
Thunder. So this is where it's mind-boggling to me as to what the Clippers are trying to accomplish here, you know what? You got rid of James Harden 2 days ago. You get rid of Ivica Zubac today. You know what? Just call it the trilogy and try to get rid of Kawhi Leonard right now. You get rid of the controversy, all the smoke from the aspiration debacle with that company. Steve Ballmer, who knows what's going to happen with him in terms of punishment? Are they going to lose draft choices? I have no idea. But the Clippers are doing Clippers things. And this is what's so disappointing. Here's a team that over their past 21 games are 17-4, arguably the best team over that 21 game span in the NBA. And then this happens? I'd like to know what Lawrence Frank, Steve Ballmer, and that collective Clippers organization made the decision to pivot after Monday. I have no idea. I don't know what's happening. Zubac to the Pacers when they're healthy. If the Knicks aren't seeing this right now, if the Pistons aren't seeing this, if the Heat aren't seeing this, if the Cleveland Cavaliers aren't seeing this, the Pacers are back as of next season. I can't wait to watch them. The Clippers are definitely in purgatory right now. Let's see what happens going forward. This can't be the last move. Don't be surprised if Kawhi Leonard is on the move next.
We have Brandon Armstrong in the fold, and B-Dot, we have so much to talk about. We also have Mitch Lawrence joining us, the great legendary NBA insider, our boy, friend of the program, friend of the network. Mitch Lawrence, what's up? Happy deadline day with you and me. It's like old times on Sirius XM, man.
You're darn right it is. Happy trade deadline week. Best to Roger Goodell in the NFL, as your matchup in the Super Bowl is totally under the radar because the NBA has blown you out of the water. But you know how they're going to get back? You know how the NFL is going to get back at the NBA? Instead of 3 Christmas games, NFL versus the NBA, they'll put on 6, right? A little patch. It's been a tremendous week for the NBA, just like last year with the Luka Doncic thing. I mean, it's like 100%. The NFL, the Super Bowl, this lead up to the Super Bowl used to be amazing. Now the NBA is dominating. So hats off to all the NBA people who made it happen.
So, Mitch, we just got the Zubac trade, okay?
He got traded for who?
Yeah, we don't know that yet. We're waiting on those details. Obviously, the Indiana side, we all know what's up, right? They need a replacement for Miles Turner. Kevin Pritchard does it again. Well done, right? But what the hell are the Clippers doing, Mitch Lawrence? Right? What are they doing right now? Do you understand their plan, or is Kawhi Leonard on the move now? Talk to me.
He should be. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, listen, I understood the James Harden thing from the standpoint of, I know they're 17-4 in their last 21, but do you want to, they didn't want to go down the road with James Harden with another 2 years at $80 million, and they felt they could get something for him, so they got younger. Now, I liked it better for Cleveland because I think that makes people around the East take notice of the Cavs a lot more with James Harden than with Darius Garland. Darius Garland's an all-star caliber player. When James Harden is on, and I know he's had his playoff implosions, don't get me wrong, but I guarantee you the Celtics and the Knicks and the Pistons are looking at Cleveland as now a lot more formidable potentially, even with Harden's failures in the playoffs, than bringing the team back that we saw last year implode against Indiana in 5 games. They had to make a move, so I understood that. Now back to the Clippers. Your guess is as good as mine. Do they need to move Kawhi? Yeah, probably. Who wants to take Kawhi Leonard on at this point?
Mitch, I could tell you from a local standpoint, Montreal or Ben Mathurin has been traded to the Clippers in that Ivica Zubac trade. Ben Mathurin to the Clippers.
Anything else?
Don't know. It's popping off for me right now because I'm getting besieged by text messages because I'm here in Montreal, because Ben is from Montreal. So that's the big deal right here.
Well,
we got here's the full trade. It is, fellas, Zubac and Kobe Brown to Indiana. Legion Hoops has it wrong. They've got the Clippers receiving Ivica Zubac. Legion Hoops, you're going to need to fix that. But it's been Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, who Rick Carlisle's never really liked, 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, 2 first-round picks. Like, dude, almost nobody's giving away 2 first-round picks for anybody. And the LA Clippers just got 2 first-round picks. And I love Zubac, but I now understand why the Clippers did that. Mitch, go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. You say nobody's giving away first-round picks. Talk to the Milwaukee Bucks. They can't get – how many first-round picks can they get for Giannis? They had to pull them off the trade block because they can't get it. They want 3, 4, 5 first-round picks.
Right.
And they should. They should. If the Knicks had to give Brooklyn 5 for Bridges – for Giannis, you gotta give the king, the king's ransom is up. So yeah, we'll see what the Clippers are up to beyond this. It is this is one of those things that happens. I don't know what they're gonna do with Kawhi. He's, it's been a mess with him really throughout because they haven't gotten the bang for their buck, and he's involved in this whole aspiration nonsense. And for them, it hasn't worked out nearly what they thought it was, especially when you remember that they had to give up SGA for Paul George. And that's the only way they got Kawhi, because Kawhi said, if you don't get me Paul George to come here to Clipperland, I'll go to the Lakers. It's just been a mess. But that's the Clipper way, right? We all know that.
We already know they're set up to fail every year. Brandon Armstrong hit Mitch Lawrence with a question about these deadline moves, man.
Oh, man. So, Mitch, every trade deadline has real conversations and fake noise. Right now, which rumored names are legitimate trade candidates and which ones are being floated by teams or agents strictly to manipulate leverage?
Well, the real trade, the big names that are definitely real are Giannis, who will be traded, probably guaranteed in the summer around the draft, and Ja Morant. Memphis cannot go back. Memphis has to move Ja Morant. Now, they've done a nice job accumulating 7 first-round picks or whatever in those 2 trades with Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. So that's, they can take a lot less than they previously probably were thinking about for Ja, he's kind of like damaged goods anyway. But those guys are definitely real, and they'll be revisited. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They're both going to be, Giannis will be the big headline. It'll be the summer of Giannis or the draft of Giannis around that time because he'll be moved by the Bucks. And I saw, interestingly, earlier today, I think it was Brian Windhorst has speculated they're going to deactivate Giannis for the rest of the year because they don't want to suffer a major injury that's obviously going to impact their ability to get back the King's ransom. And as for Ja, I'm sure Sacramento will be interested. Even though he's not interested in them, they'll be interested in the offseason along with other teams. And who knows what Miami's going to be looking like at that time. So I think those are the obvious big names. I'm not sure about, with all the trade stuff swirling, I'm not sure about any fake names. There have been a lot. Look at all the moves that have been made. We didn't expect, last week at this time, we didn't expect James Harden to be a Cavalier, I don't think. We thought there was a chance that Giannis could be moved. Okay, fine. But, Atlanta's done a lot of moves. Jaren Jackson Jr. kind of came out of left field because, they just signed him to a mega deal in the offseason. And in terms of what Utah did, I understand they want to get better. They don't want to suck anymore. They want to get better defensively, so they will with him. But here's the problem for Danny Ainge. And this goes back to not winning the lottery last year with Cooper Flagg. Danny Ainge now is kind of stuck in terms of, okay, he's got Lauri Markkanen and he's got Jaren Jackson Jr. He's got some promising all-star caliber pieces. Where is his Paul Pierce? Where is his Jason Tatum? He didn't go to Utah. He didn't go back to Utah where he's the fair-haired child from his BYU days to kind of do a mediocre team or a team with a couple. He went back there to get them a title, and he does not have the Kevin Garnett. He doesn't have the all-NBA to MVP quality player, and I'm sure he's still banging his head against the wall after what happened in the draft in the lottery last June where they were had one of the best chances to get him, and obviously Dallas passed him by. So that, Jaren Jackson, yes, you can say Utah's done a good job here. I'm sure Danny Ainge is looking at it saying, I still need to get my Jason Tatum somewhere along the line, or we're not going to contend as championship contenders.
Mitch, if I can interject here. Now, listen, that is a formidable front line if and when they get Walker Kessler back from injury, from his shoulder injury. And could Danny Ainge's Paul Pierce or those players or Jason Tatum, those players you've spoken about, could it be Keontae George? Keontae George has proven himself over this season as a more than capable scorer who I believe has the potential to be a 25 to 30 point per game scorer in the NBA. I believe the Utah Jazz are on the uptick here. Along with the Wizards, they have flipped their philosophy. They're as you said, they're tired of sucking and they're tired of losing. And I believe the Jazz, with that formidable front court, which could be as good defensively as any front court in the NBA, and then you have the scoring prowess of both Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George, I think the Jazz are going to be all right going forward. Listen, I don't know what the plans are for Isaiah Collier, who had a career-high 22 assists the other night, but I think the potential is there in Utah to build something. I think Keontae George, Mitch, has a chance to be extremely special in the NBA.
Well, if Danny Ainge shares your take on Keontae George, then fine. That's great. If he doesn't, then if he thinks, he can be an all-star caliber player, but not an all-NBA player, then Utah still has to find a way to get that. Because we've seen teams over years have, multiple all-star players who aren't necessarily MVP candidates or not necessarily all-NBA candidates. I'm talking about the top 15 players in the league, and those teams have a ceiling. Those teams can get you maybe to the second round. But in terms of getting you deeper in the playoffs, usually you need that guy. Now, it may be Keontae George. I mean, listen, when Sam Presti traded for SGA, he didn't think he was going to be an MVP, I don't think. He didn't have that in his crystal ball. So you may be right. And you know what? We'll see what happens, how it shakes out. But, I think you're right about, Utah is in a much better position today than they were last week. And, but you're still contending against teams that have SGA. You're still contending at teams that have Jokic. You're still contending at Western Conference teams that have Anthony Edwards. And that's where you're going to come up short if you're Utah. If you don't have one of these type of guys, and when you see them in a 7-game series, that usually spells trouble.
And they're building a nice little. They're building a nice little crew in Utah, but it's a great point. They don't have that one guy. All right,
let's remember, very important. This is Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge played for the Celtics. He was a member of the Immortals 1986 team, maybe the greatest team ever. He's built the Celtics into championship contenders. He's gotten players like that. That's where he's coming from. He ain't just going out there to, hey, we're going to be a second-round team. He's all about winning titles.
I think what Mitch is saying, guys, is that Jaylen Brown is going to take the reins over and for the Celtics, and Jason Tatum is coming to Utah. That's what it sounds like.
There you go.
That's what it sounded
like. Wow, breaking news.
I don't think Brad Stevens knows about that.
Breaking news here on the X-Rayted Sports Network. Mitch, we're going to give you one more question and let you go. Busy day. We really appreciate your time. A.M. Pfeffer hit Mitch with one last question.
All right, Mitch. Let's go back to the Clippers for a second. I mean, let's say they did nothing, okay, and kept James Harden. Or let's say they moved James Harden like they did and brought over Darius Garland and then did nothing, okay? And obviously we know what they've been over the last 21 games. Dwight mentioned 17-4, one of the hottest teams in the NBA. But let's say either of those moves, without the move for Zubac or what they're ultimately doing in deconstructing the roster, do we really feel like they were going to compete this year with the top 4 in the West? Right? We're talking Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Houston, and Denver. Was there really a chance that even though they maybe made the play-in game, or they became even like the A seed and ultimately made themselves into the playoffs, like, were they really going to compete with the top four?
Yeah, and I'd add Minnesota to that mix of your top 4 or 5 teams.
Sure.
No, I don't. Although they had been, 17-4 of the last 21, much different than 6-21 to open the season. No, and I think that the reason being that you still can't count on Kawhi to be on the court all the time. He's going to be, he'll be available, then he won't be available. And, we've seen him miss big. Look, their best playoff run, he wasn't there in the Western Conference Finals. Remember that. As much as, he got him a little bit into the playoffs and he got hurt. So long story short, I couldn't have sit here and with a straight face said, yeah, I think they compete for a title. I think they're in the second or third tier down from the teams you mentioned, Oklahoma City, and listen, guys, Houston's got some problems. I know a lot of people are bullish on Houston. If you watch how they play sometimes, except for Thompson on the perimeter, they have no defenders. And they still have, we'll see what happens with, Kevin Durant. I kind of put them on a tier below the Oklahoma Cities and maybe San Antonio's, because they're teams that can lock them down, give them all kinds of problems and then attack Kevin Durant. We saw that, this week with San Antonio. So we'll see what happens. But that's a good question about the Clippers. I mean, I just can't be that bullish on a team that has Kawhi Leonard.
There are reports that teams are calling the Clippers for Kawhi Leonard right now. We're 23 minutes out from the deadline. So I highly doubt Kawhi's on the move unless, they've been planning this. But with 20 minutes left, you're moving a guy like Kawhi Leonard, super complicated. So, but we'll see. Mitch, we love you, man. You're a dear, dear friend of mine. And, of course, X-Rated Sports Network. And we really appreciate your time here on Deadline Day, Mitch. You the man.
Loved it, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see what happens, all right? Take care and stay in touch.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Mitch.
See you soon.
Thank you.
The great
Hey,
Mitch Lawrence.
Rick, can I chime in on this Utah at all?
Yeah, let's move to that topic. Go ahead. The question is, are the Jazz officially back? Go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, look, I want to double end on what was already laid as a foundation for where they're at. I mean, look, Dwight, you bring up a great point about Keontae George. And then Mitch brought up a great point. Like, does Danny Ainge believe in Keontae George? I think he does, which is why he made the trade for Triple J. And guess what? After the trade for Triple J, the war chest is still 8 first-round picks and 6 second-round picks through 2032. Ainge knows what he's doing. And yeah, he missed out on Cooper Flagg, and yeah, he didn't hit in the top 5. But you know what? Ace Bailey ain't that bad. And he's actually a perimeter defender, right? So we were just talking about Amen Thompson down in Houston as kind of their only perimeter defender. Well, Utah has one in their own who's burgeoning now, who's coming up through the ranks. There are so many moves to be made for that team. And that front line, these guys are ginormous when Kessler comes back, right? And I get it, not like Triple J is like, he's decent, he's great, he's good. I mean, everybody's got a different opinion on this guy. Lauri Markkanen has been chomping at the bit over nearly a decade to play with a real team and see where this goes. Ainge struck when he needed to strike and get Utah into the mix here. I think what he did in that specific trade was pretty special. It's the start of something where they can vault themselves. And by the way, they're still so bottom of the barrel this year. Who knows? Maybe a little luck is on their side, and they end up in the top 5 yet again. And we all know how good this coming draft is.
Well, you had the frozen envelope situation.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just saying they also have $45 to $48 million in cap space for this upcoming 2026 season. So they're one of the top 3, 4 or 5 teams, outside the Wizards, Bulls, Clippers, and Lakers that have, the most cap space going into 2026. So, we may be expecting
Danny
some
Ainge
major
is a snake in the grass, and I mean that affectionately. Yes. This dude has been out there waiting for his chance. Yeah, he needs his Jason Tatum. But I mentioned it on the text chain. That is the coldest trade and draft day in the history of the NBA. I dare anybody to show me something better than when he gave Philadelphia that pick knowing they were taking Markelle Fultz, and he knew the Lakers were keyed on Lonzo Ball, and he's like, I'm getting Tatum anyway, and he got the war chest that he did, and he went out to Utah, and he made all those moves, and he brought out the war chest again, and he just got Triple J without having to move Lauri Markkanen, and everybody was like, move Lauri Markkanen last year, move him last year, and he's like, guys, I got this. Danny Ainge has this, all right? Watch Utah in 2 years be in the mix in the top 4 back in the West. The dude knows what he's doing.
Listen, the only reason we are not talking about Danny Ainge as the best GM in the NBA is because of what Sam Presti has accomplished with Oklahoma City Thunder. But if this group, I'm telling you, what you just said, AM, is 100% correct. This group has all the makings of making noise in a extremely competitive Western Conference. The size that the Jazz are now going to bring to the table, right? And then Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, the aforementioned Ace Bailey, there's something brewing, something very special in Utah. This cannot be undersold. We need to be talking about this. The Jazz are back. They're going to be good. We need to pay attention to what's happening. Danny Ainge, as you said, definite snake in the grass, but that is meant in the most complimentary of ways. He knows how to make the salary cap work. He understands what it takes to win. He's been around the NBA for decades. He is no slouch. I respect what Danny Ainge does. The Jazz are back, ladies and gentlemen. We need to pay attention going forward.
B-Dot, are you ready
Rick,
to say the Jazz are back?
Answer?
They're definitely on the right. The trajectory is going up. They have a great, solid backup point guard in Isaiah Collier, who had 22 assists, 2 turnovers. Georgia boy, by the way, last night. People they've been tossing around, throw him in the starting lineup, putting Keontae to the 2. But I like him as their backup point guard. You need a solid backup point guard, as you see, Indiana Pacers with T.J. McConnell, somebody like that. You need somebody sooner. Maybe three more years he'll be a PG1. But right now, I like what they're doing. The development of Ace Bailey, he's bought in. But the only thing is, what superstar will want to play in Utah? That's the only thing. If they're going to be able to get a legitimate person that wants to play in Utah, because I've heard speculations for former NBA guys with Utah. Donovan Mitchell loved it. Joe Johnson did not like it at all. Jordan Clarkson loved it. So it was more the younger guys that liked it more than the older. Different reasons, but we'll see if they can land someone. Someone a big name, and it doesn't have to be anybody crazy. It doesn't have to be like a Kevin Durant caliber player. It needs to be somebody that is a star with potential superstar.
It can't be Lauri Markkanen?
I like Lauri. I do like Lauri. He's a bit inconsistent for me. He relies on that 3 a lot, but he plays hard and he's gonna rebound. So I think if Lauri gets with the right trainer, if they had a Phil Handy out there training Lauri, then hands down, I believe it. But if they're able to get one more piece, like I said, like a small forward they can throw the ball into, they can get a high percentage bucket. Because right now, Jaren like to shoot that 3, Lauri like to shoot that 3, Keontae like to shoot that 3. And I know it's the way the game is going, but you want somebody can catch it on that 17 foot and get a high percentage shot. And that's what it's going to come down to in the playoffs. But I love Lauri. I definitely believe Lauri has the potential to take that next step.
Ab, did you have a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, because I appreciate that, Rick. I wanted to come back a little bit and give my 2 cents on what's going on with the Clippers, because I think they were getting crapped on a little bit, and rightfully so. But I'm here to tell you they're making all the right moves. This is the move, and it's a lot of what I asked Mitch Lawrence. It's like whether they did something with Harden or not, or whether they kept Garland and the same team with what Kawhi's been doing and where they're moving. They were not competing with the top 4 teams this year, okay? They had to get off a lot of salary. They've got to reset completely at this point. And that trade for Zubac was just the next domino to fall. Whether the Kawhi moves this year or next, he only has 1 year left on his contract next year, and that's $50 million. Now, the interesting thing about moving a guy like that when it becomes an expirings are a hell of a lot easier to move when they're in that $25 to $35 million space, especially when you're going to match contracts next year and try and make this exciting at the trade deadline when you're trying to bring a superstar and then you're putting guys together. But I think somebody's going to want Kawhi next year. And that becomes a chip for them, and maybe they can wait until next year or even over the summer to do it. It doesn't have to be right now. You see the Bucks are waiting right now, and I guess ultimately that's going to be fine, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But look, the Clippers are doing what they need to do. Garland, assuming he can get over the left toe, right toe issues that he's got, he's a young guy. He was an all-star. He's somebody to build off of. You've got to reset the entire roster at this point. You got to reset everything out in LA. It wasn't going anywhere.
$60 million in cap space. $60 million in cap space for the Clippers. So, and
Yeah,
they get rid of Kawhi, that's even more.
B-Dot is giving you a run for your capologist money here today, AM. I like it. It's our trade deadline extravaganza. Rick Kamla, Brandon Armstrong, AM Pfeffer, Dwight Walton. We've got Coach James Young of Sports Grid coming up in about 14 minutes. There's 14 minutes left until the deadline of 3 p.m. Eastern time. Let me give you my answer here on the Jazz. Are they officially back? Yes, they are big winners here. They're not top of the West back, okay? I mean, but they're back. They're relevant. They're going to be at least a play-in tournament team next year. Danny Ainge wins again. He's basically won every trade he's ever done. I literally don't know why these teams trade with Danny Ainge. You don't see the big bad wolf standing right outside your door, and you welcome him in and hand him a little whiskey. I mean, give me a break, dude. He's gonna eat your head off, man. He got one of the rarest players in the league. There's only a handful of dudes that block shots like JJJ and hit threes like JJJ. Miles Turner, Porzingis, but only for like 30 games. I think you guys get the point. So the post-Gobert Mitchell tank is now over, at least next year. They're still going to tank down the stretch. The season's lost. They're 7 games out of 10th place, okay? So they're not even going to sniff the play-in tournament. You don't have Walker Kessler. But next year, guys, okay, and you guys talked about cap space and all that kind of stuff. This is what I know that they're going to look like. Keontae's going to be your 1. Ace Bailey's going to be your large 2. Markkanen, who's played the 3 effectively before in Cleveland, 3. Jackson's your 4. Kessler's your 5. It's a pretty badass starting 5 right there, guys. Your bench, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, who's a 3-point driller, Vince Williams or Cody Williams, I don't know, and then Filipowski, and I can't remember if Nurkic is under contract or not. Not a bad little bench, and Ainge will make other moves. And we are making a move here, guys, to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. Let's get into this. And I've been patient. You guys know that I've complained a lot about Steve Kerr's treatment of Jonathan Kuminga, and I'm super happy that Jonathan Kuminga is free from Steve Kerr's reign of terror, okay? It's Kuminga and Buddy Hield to Atlanta, Porzingis, stop laughing, to the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors halted their pursuit of Giannis after the Bucks declined their trade offers, pivoted to Porzingis. Are you serious? This is so laughable from the Golden State side. Their new starting 5, Curry, Podziemski, Moody, Draymond, Porzingis. Yuck, okay? Porzingis has an expiring contract, but he never plays. The point is moot. The question for our panel here in 60 seconds or less, will Kuminga become a star in Atlanta? I say yes. Atlanta's new starting 5, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu. Pretty good. Benches McCollum, Hield, Reese Shea, Kispert, and Landale. The pathway is there for Kuminga to be the second scoring option on this team and flirt with 20 a night, okay? The Hawks are number 2 in pace. Kuminga is a great open court player, great runner, great finisher. Jalen Johnson to Kuminga for the big flush on the fast break is going to bring them to their feet at State Farm Arena. This guy is great pedigree. 7th overall pick, drafted by Bob Myers and fell in Steve Kerr's doghouse. Yes, he will become a star in Atlanta. Dwight Walton, you are on the clock.
You've heard me say this time and time again. I want to see Jonathan Kuminga get the same opportunity that Amen Thompson has been given with the Houston Rockets. I know Osir Thompson isn't as good as Amen. Jonathan Kuminga is definitely better than Asar Thompson. And again, you can call me crazy. This may be a hot take. I think Kuminga offensively is way better than Amen Thompson. Maybe not the complete basketball player that Thompson is. Thompson right now is being exposed. He is not a shooter at all. The other night he had a game where I think he had 30 points. 12 of his field goals were in the paint. They are literally going underneath screens in the middle of the lane on Amen Thompson. That's one thing to see it happen during the regular season. Wait until the playoffs, which is why as the potential for Amen Thompson is there, but they need a point guard in Houston if they truly want to be legit contenders in the Western Conference. Kuminga, for my money, is a way better offensive player. Maybe not the totality of Amen Thompson, but given opportunities with the Hawks that he will get, we may see the entire package with Kuminga in Atlanta. He definitely has the potential to be a star with the Atlanta Hawks. No question about it.
B-Dot, will Kuminga become a star in Atlanta?
Oh, definitely. Kuminga's a downhill player. Like you said, Atlanta's second hill and is second in the league in pace. I love Kuminga. He's in the East now. It's a little bit more easier, in the East when you don't got to see Anthony Davis. You don't got to see the Kawhi Leonards. You don't got to see those longer defenders. Not saying the East doesn't have great defenders also, but it's a little bit more easier. And he has more free reign. And I love that squad. Defensively, oh my goodness. That if they lock in, they're very long. Man, that Atlanta team is going to be very good this year and this upcoming year. I'm happy for Kuminga. Like I said, he has more free range to show his bag and just be him. He's not playing with no weight on his back. He's not playing to think like, am I going to play next game or am I going to get pulled? I can't make minimal mistakes. Is Draymond going to beat my ass? Like I'm good. He's good now. All he got to worry about is putting buckets, lemon pepper chicken wings, and stay away from Magic City.
That's gonna be tough. I don't know how he kicks it, but I can tell you what. Next time I go to Atlanta, there'll be a little left turn, to downtown.
Next topic.
Anyway.
Topic, Rick.
A.M. Pfeffer. Will Kuminga become a star in Atlanta?
No, I'm not expecting him to become a star. I like that he ended up on Atlanta. I'm so happy this is the trade and where he was. I know you guys want consensus. Guys, if Alexander remains on this team, he's a ball hard. He wants to be the star. Jalen Johnson is the Batman of that team. He's the star. Reese is the number one pick, and everybody wants him to be good, and Atlanta wants him to be good. And you guys are forgetting one thing right now. Atlanta owns the better of Milwaukee or New Orleans pick. That could be a top 4. Guess who's coming to dinner next year, guys? Some big names are going to end up on that squad. They've got a lot. B-Dot, you talk about salary cap, okay? Atlanta's got a ton of salary to play with, moves to make. Yep. There are other things that are going to happen here. Kuminga fits in well. We all like him. I want to see him do well down there. Do I expect him to just all of a sudden go down there and he's going to be the dude? No, there's too much else going on down there. And the truth of the matter is he's 5 years into this league and he hasn't proven star power, but he should be and get his chance to showcase his talents. And all of a sudden Atlanta could be good with him being a huge integral part of the team.
Dwight, why did you throw your head in your hands as AM was talking? What was that about? As we're 5 minutes out from the deadline.
Okay, but you know what, Rick? Basically, I guess I skirted my response. I said he has the potential to be a star in Atlanta. I didn't say he was going to be a star. AM flat out said no, but he did explain himself. He gave context to his response, and I'm more on AM's side than I originally thought, because I did use the word potential, but then AM brought context to it by saying there are a lot of other moving parts on the Hawks that are going to have the ball besides Kuminga. Kuminga is going to have to depend on 2 players in particular to get him the rock. That's Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jalen Johnson, who for the entire month of December averaged a triple-double. Jalen Johnson is on the trajectory to be a superstar in the NBA. He fits the bill for today's NBA, 6'9", 6'10", can dribble, pass, and shoot, and is one of the better defenders that we have in the NBA. Quinn Snyder and that Hawks organization, they're another organization that is on the uptick because they are building a roster that is more suited for today's NBA. They are long, they are athletic, they have multiple players that can make decisions off the dribble, and they have several players that can make shots from distance. They just added Gabe Vincent, who didn't provide the shooting that the Lakers were hoping that they were going to get. Losing Luke Kennard, who I think is shooting close to 50% from three this season, went to the Lakers. Let's see how Gabe Vincent fits into that equation in Atlanta. But I like what the Hawks are doing. Again, I feel Kuminga, to AM's point, has the potential to be a star in Atlanta, but he has to understand that he's going to have to play off of players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jalen Johnson.
We are 4 minutes out from the deadline, folks, and Coach James Young of Sports Grid will join us at the top of the hour. Let's start getting into Anthony Davis here. Here's the trade. The Mavericks got Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. Going to Washington, Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. So the question is here, guys, who won the trade? I'll give you my answer. The Wizards won this trade. And this is a worthy roll of the dice. Put us on the 60-second clock here, fellas. Thank you. I would have done the same thing. The Wizards are tired of tanking, kind of like Utah. They give up 2 first-round picks over 2 trades for 2 future Hall of Famers in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. The Mavs are stupid. The main asset in the Luka trade, the worst trade of all time, was traded after 29 games with the team. This isn't GM malpractice. It's grounds for Adam Silver to take the team away from the Adelson group, okay? I thought Glenn Taylor was bad at basketball. These clowns are the worst I've ever seen, okay? The original trade for Anthony Davis, and then this one, okay? Here's what Dallas got for Luka. Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley Jr., Max Christie, 3 firsts and 3 seconds for Luka. Still not enough. And the Mavs never let Davis, Flagg, and Kyrie play together. And shame on them for that. I go to B-Dot here. Who won that trade, B-Dot, Washington or Dallas?
I like Washington, man. You know, they got a lot of key pieces, especially if I can't even say if, especially if Anthony Davis stays healthy. But you know, with Trae Young and those guys, Alex Sarr, I'm not too mad at Dallas either, man. They didn't get all the picks they should have got for Luka, but at least they got some in general with this, this AD trade. And they're going young, and I don't know what draft picks they have. In this upcoming draft in terms of would it be a top 10? Because that would definitely, or a top 15, that would definitely, help in general. But I like the Wizards, man.
Right now they're at 7, Dallas is, yeah.
Okay, that's not bad at all. With this draft class that is coming up, you can't really go wrong with one of these young freshman guys that's coming in. So I may say it's a little bit more even kill just because they want to get rid of Anthony Davis, and we haven't had a full season of Anthony Davis. And I'm out here in Dallas right now and playing pickup yesterday, and they were excited to get rid of AD. So we'll see what they do with Kyrie, and then we'll come back to this topic.
So the streets are talking, and they're happy that Davis was traded. That's what you're telling me?
Oh, ecstatic. I'm hooping yesterday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm so glad AD's going." They're excited. They still have a little bit of that Luka, the Luka depression going on, but other than that, Dallas fans, Dallas culture, they're moving in the right direction.
Dwight Walton, you are next. Who won the Brow trade?
Well, before I get started, can I be please taken off of the clock, because I have a lot to say in this regard, and you'll understand why. And I'm going to read all the moves that GM of the Wizards, Will Dawkins, has made since taking the reins in Washington. First of all, the Washington Wizards won the deal, but I have to commend the Dallas Mavericks for at least recognizing, especially over the last week to 10 days, that they need to pivot and build around Cooper Flag. This man has the chance to transcend the NBA in ways only LeBron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Victor Wembanyama and the other greats have in the NBA. That's just a fact. That's the way it's going to be. Cooper Flag is just turned 19. We're not talking about turning 19 6 months ago. He turned 19 in late December. That's how good this player is. That's how good he's going to be. But the Wizards won this deal. And I want to give GM Will Dawkins of the Washington Wizards all of his flowers. And I'm going to read off what he has done so far here. He turned Bradley Beal's awful contract into Chris Paul. Immediately flipped Chris Paul for Jordan Poole. Waited a season to let Poole get his value up. Traded Poole to the Pelicans for CJ McCollum's expiring contract. Traded Kyle Kuzma at max value to the Bucks for Chris Middleton's soon-to-be expiring contract. Used McCollum's contract to buy low on Trae Young. Used Middleton's contract to buy low on Anthony Davis. All while drafting Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, my godson, and Trey Johnson while making all of these moves. This is a masterclass in NBA contract management and shows the value of expiring contracts. What an incredible display of GM management by a team that doesn't attract top-tier free agents. So why not take a chance on Trae Young when all you gave up was Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum? And then why not take a chance on oft and injured Anthony Davis? I get it, but this has the DMV region buzzing today about basketball once again. I was just there. I was there for 5 days, got back yesterday late, and this trade went down when Keyshawn's father, Dion, and myself were on the plane back to Montreal. We couldn't believe it. We're excited. We can't wait to see how this develops over time. But again, when you're the Wizards organization, you take chances on players whose reputation have come down a tick in Trae Young and Anthony Davis, and you hope the young core of Sarr, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Bob Carrington. Let's see how this core plays out. When healthy, they're going to be a fun team to watch in the Eastern Conference. Kudos to Will Dawkins. Kudos to that Wizards front office and bringing excitement back to the DMV area. I can't wait to see what the future holds with that Wizards organization.
$50 to $80 million in cap space. Also, don't forget about that.
There he is. So you get beat out back on camera. So, guys, I want to introduce a dear friend of mine. I've done a lot of work with him over the years. He's absolutely fantastic. Coach James Young of Sports Grid. Let's bring him in right now. The deadline is passed. It's 3:03 p.m. Eastern time. Coach James Young, it is Rick Kamla, your boy. Upper right corner, Dwight Walton, Canadian basketball legend, played in the Olympics. Brandon Armstrong, the incredible NBA impersonator and a man of many talents. And lower right, we have A.M. Pfeffer. He's an anchor, an author, a businessman, and he's out in our LA studios. Fellas, this is Coach James Young, one of the best in the biz, man.
Welcome, Coach. Welcome.
Man, listen, with this starting five, I just don't want to turn the ball over. I just want to make sure
there you go.
the right way. We make sure we have a
That's right.
I love it. All right, Coach. So we have made it through the deadline. Ja Morant appears not to have been traded. We know that the Bucks kind of took Giannis off the market after having lots of talks with him. And Kawhi Leonard, with the Zubac trade, then there was a report that teams are calling on Kawhi. Just saw another report the Clippers aren't moving him. So it looks like Kawhi's staying put, Ja's staying put, and Giannis are all staying put. Does that surprise you and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it surprises me with all three for three different reasons. For one, once you trade Jaren Jackson Jr., the rebuild is here. So at that point, there's nothing better than to move on from Ja, a guy that has struggled lately, obviously, to stay healthy. when you look at Kawhi, I think they got caught off guard with obviously the Harden news. But if you're going to trade both Harden and Zubac, then why are you keeping Kawhi? And I think about guys as they get older, they get more injury prone, and then their value goes down. And that gets me to Giannis. It's very simple. Once you guys all notice, once you get to the summer and it's your last year, you now hold a lot more of the cards because teams only get you for that 1 year if they don't extend you. So to me, I thought Ja should have been moved. Ja, obviously Kawhi and Giannis all should have been moved for different reasons. I think in Milwaukee's case, I think they're hoping that, all right, maybe we take one more swing at this. Maybe we can turn it one last time. But at the end of the day, the fireworks that came before the deadline, they're going to come back now, and it's going to be during the summer. What that becomes intriguing really quick is because now the way these teams are falling with the draft, it's going to be interesting. Like Indiana, like they got a center. So if they don't win the lottery and they can't get Peterson, do they move somebody? Do they move Siakam? Do they turn around and trade the pick? So I think a lot of chaos is going to ensue with these teams that are losing based on where they're going to be in the draft after the lottery.
That is a great call. I'm trying to look where Indiana is right now. Oh, they're third. Wow. Tankathon.com has them taking AJ Dibansa right now. Me and Dwight at least think he should be the number one overall pick in this draft, but Tankathon has him going third. Dwight, come on in here with a question for Coach James Young.
Coach, welcome to the program. I'd like to know, talking about the LA Lakers today, their issues are defensively on the perimeter, obviously, but they had a player in Luke Kennard who's shooting around, I want to say 48, 49% from three this season. Do you think the Lakers have improved themselves? What do you think their ceiling is in this year's playoff run? And once the offseason comes here, of course, LeBron James is the 1,000-pound elephant in the room. Once his contract comes off the books, they're going to have around $58 to $60 million in cap space. What do you think happens going forward with LeBron James and that Laker organization after this season?
Well, first things first, you got rid of Vincent's contract. So to them, that's a win just getting him off the books more than anything.
100%.
When you think about the Lakers, they're going to struggle defensively. We see it obviously with LeBron James at the small forward position. They give up the most points per game versus small forwards in the entire league. So that didn't fix it. But to your point, they need shooters. If you think about Luka Doncic and you think about LeBron James, you need downhill action. So you need a guy that can put in the dunker spot. That's DeAndre Ayton. But you got to space the floor with shooters to give them driving lanes. That's why they got Vincent initially. So to me, I think they helped their offense and spacing the floor with arguably, I'm going to say, it's one of the top 5 shooters in the NBA. He may not get the minutes or the points, but if you talk about sheer shooting the ball, Luke Kennard's one of the 5 to 10 best shooters in the NBA. So they solved that. In regards to them in the Western Conference, listen, guys, I don't see them getting out of the first round. And then after that, LeBron leaves, you build around Luka, and then you go from there. But to me, it's making them a little bit better, but to me, it doesn't make them a contender in the Western Conference.
B-Dot hit James Young. Coach James Young with a question, man. What you got, Brandon?
How you doing? How you doing, Coach? You always talk about process over record. Right now, which playoff team looks good in the standings, but is structurally flawed on film, in terms of spacing, defensive coverage, or late game decision making?
I'm going to say this right now, and I may be unpopular. I do not like what Cleveland did with James Harden. I don't agree with
Me either, Coach. Me either.
I can't. And you know what, Rick? It doesn't make sense to me. And this is what I'm going to say to people. All right, everybody's going to say, hey, pass first point guard, pass first point guard. He's played with guys that score and that need the ball. First things first, can't throw Oklahoma City out of there, right? When he played in Houston, whoever he didn't like, he ran them off the team. Then you're going to say the Nets. If you look at KD, completely different. Catch and shoot, one dribble shoot. Then you're going to say, well, he played with Kyrie. What they play? 10 games together? Because they were never healthy. So to me, you're going to put a ball-dominant point guard with a ball-dominant two guard with a team with two centers. And at the end of the day, as much as I love that team, love Donovan Mitchell, I don't see how I can put them as one of the three best. I'll take Detroit over them. I'll take the Knicks over them. I'll take Boston over them. If Orlando can ever get their you-know-what together and shoot the ball the right way, I'll take them over them. So to me, I just look at Cleveland as a team that I think they made the move in the wrong way. I would have traded one of the bigs, and most likely Jared Allen.
AM Pfeffer, Coach James Young is ready for your question. What you got, AM?
Coach Young, thanks for joining us on the program today, especially of all days. I got a question. Boston really intrigues me in the move they made. The Anafri-Simons trade was super interesting to me because this is a team that's been living and dying by the three all year, right? And he's a guy who's shooting basically 40%, taking nearly 7 attempts a game. He's been one of the best six men in the game coming off the bench for them. And obviously they swapped him out for Vucevic because it's like, oh, well, we need depth up front. We need a front court presence, right? And Nemash Keita, when he plays, has been great. And he's probably still going to be their starter. But like, do you agree with this move? Was that the right move to move away from this guard heavy, barrage of threes that has gotten them into the top four on the East? And they're making the right choice bringing in the big man, or should they have stayed the course?
Well, listen, Vucevic can't stop a nosebleed. Let's just put that out there right now. But in regards to scoring as a big, rebounding, he gives him something. I think you look at guys like Gonzalez and obviously Jordan Walsh, there have been guys that have stepped their game. I mean, you even saw Ron Harper's kid play pretty well last night in the starting role. So to me, I think they look at the fact of, okay, we got to move a guard to get a big. I know Kate has been really good, but Vucevic is a rebounder and a guy that can score in the pivot, can stretch the floor. And at the end of the day, I don't know if you get those clean looks from three. You got to be able to mix it up a little bit more. And I think Big Boost gives that to them. I do say where he went to Chicago, I've been waiting for this team to blow this team up for 5 years. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's about time they punted. They got rid of everybody. And they're starting over, although they only have about 95 guards and like 2 bigs on the team right now.
Amazing. But by the way, do you see Vucevic or Keita as the starter? That's the other part of the question. 2-part question. Who starts for Boston now?
Vooch.
You think so, huh? Dwight?
Yeah, I think you start Vooch because I think Keita's more adept to be coming off the bench for his career.
100%.
Vooch is the starter. You can't mess that up with a guy that's a veteran. He's got to get his minutes off the jump.
All right.
Go ahead, Dwight.
I have another question for you, Coach. Can you kindly explain what's happening in Sacramento? Why was the value of Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Russell Westbrook basically null and void? How can you have a team that is old and they're 12-40 in the NBA? And I ask this with all due respect. I was in D.C. these past 5 days. I saw the Wizards play against the Kings on Sunday night. I saw the Wizards G League team, led by point guard Sharif Cooper, in the fourth quarter, hold on and build a lead against a team that had Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan on the floor in the fourth quarter. We're talking about DeRozan having 33, LaVine having 35. It's not like they were going through the motions, Coach. They were trying to win the game. And the Wizards G League team beat them. Why is the market so limited? I understand maybe some teams will go after these players during the offseason. I get that. But how could you sell to the Sacramento Kings fan base a team which is basically the Chicago Bulls of the Western Conference going 12-40 this season? Explain that to me.
Honestly, it's incredibly hard to explain because you just made the point. If DeRozan and LaVine didn't work in Chicago, what made you think it was going to work in Sacramento? And I think that's the thing. Listen, at the end of the day, Sacramento screwed up when they fired Mike Brown. The way they had that team and the way they had it structured offensively with that split screen action and running the ball through Sabonis at the high post, that was when they're most effective. So now you get these guys, everybody knows they're blowing it up. I don't think they get anything of value. Everybody's going to wait till after this year when it's less leverage for Sacramento, and then they're going to start to make moves, trade for guys. But at the end of the day, is Zach LaVine willing to be a sixth man? Is DeMar DeRozan willing to be a sixth man? Like, that's also the other thing that you have to think about as a coaching staff in a place is kind of like with the Vucevic thing. Can these guys be okay with coming off the bench? Because I really think going into next year, if you're a team that needs bench scoring, I would be looking at Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan if they're comfortable with that role. That Kings organization, it was amazing. 2 years ago, like the bee, we're excited. They took the light bulb, they threw it out, crushed it, stepped on it, put it in the trash, and threw it away. Because that organization has gone so far downhill in less than 2 years.
Vivek Ranadive is not a good owner of a basketball team. He's not. He meddles. He gets too involved. There's emotions involved. I mean, you guys remember the Vlade Divac thing, the Vlade Divac Dave Yeager thing. The only guy that could get through to DeMarcus Cousins, Michael Malone, whack him midway through a season. I mean, they're just so dumb out there. They're just so dumb. One last question for you, Coach James Young, and we'll let you go. We debated this, and there were some differing opinions, so I'd love to get your opinion on this. Will Jonathan Kuminga become a star, not like an all-star max player, but, a star, like a 20-point-per-game guy in Atlanta?
It depends on what they do with Zachary Richichet, because that's where it becomes tricky is what do you value in development? Do you go with Richichet or do you go with Kuminga? Because one's starting, one's coming off the bench. Now, when you look at, obviously, the play of Jalen Johnson, the Atlanta Hawks team guys secretly, they're going to be a problem in a year. Like, they're going to be a serious, serious problem. I love Nikola Alexander-Walker. The Great Barrier Reef has done a great job transitioning from a 2 to a 1 at the point of attack defensively. You have Richichet. Obviously, Jalen Johnson has turned himself into an absolute. That's the star of the team. No offense to anyone, is what he has done. And I like what they got rid of Porzingis, and they kept Okongwu, who really kind of showed his mettle in the playoffs last year. Their bench, now you look at this team, you're like, shoot, like they're going to be pretty good in a year. And then we keep forgetting the fact that they own New Orleans an unprotected pick because of the Derek Queen trade during the draft. So to me, I don't think he's going to be a star. But to me, you got to pick one or the other. Who do I think could be the better player between Richichet and Kuminga? I would take Kuminga because I think you could still get something with Richichet on that rookie deal, move him, put Kuminga in the starting lineup, and then obviously hope that you win the draft lottery. But if they win the draft lottery and take Dibanza, they're going to blow it up anyway. Neither one of them will be there in a year.
Yeah,
Great points, man. Great points.
Great aspect this summer.
It's going to be fun to watch in Atlanta.
Coach, we'll let you go. Pardon me, I don't want to interrupt. What were you saying?
No, it's just going to be fun to watch what happens in Atlanta. It's going to be an intriguing team. If you're looking at a team next year of that could be the come-up team, it's going to be them.
One more quick question, Rick. One more quick question, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Coach, 2 players have just been waived. The Nets waived Cam Thomas, and the Charlotte Hornets waived Michael Conley Jr. What teams do you think should land these 2 players?
You want to talk about the fumble of the offseason. Cam Thomas pulled a Dennis Schroeder. I mean, he literally pulled it by himself. He had that extension. Then he's like, he wants $30 million a year. I thought he meant 30 million pesos. I mean, you don't get $30 million. So now this guy is now cut. Now, at the end of the day, if you need bench scoring at the guard position, he will score. The problem is he may give up more points than he actually scores for you. So that's the problem there. Mike Conley Jr., you know where he's going. Because of that 2 trades within 24 hours, he's eligible to go back to Minnesota, and you know Ant-Man and him are close. They're going to want to bring him back. But now the interesting thing is this. Cleveland, Lonzo leaves. You got Harden. Insurance, could they bring someone in like Mike Conley as a backup guard, veteran, with experience, with protection if someone like James Harden gets hurt? I wouldn't sleep on Cleveland maybe trying to make that move.
Houston Rockets need a point guard, coach.
Yeah, Houston does too.
Dennis Schroeder had a hell of a game last night.
You guys are barking up the wrong tree. You guys are all barking up the wrong tree. You guys, Mike Conley's out of jumps. We got to call it what it is. Mike Conley's out of jumps. Have you seen him play this year? He's been awful. He's been, I mean, I love Mike Conley. The body of work, great human being. We got to call it what it is. Like, 3 years ago, like, to me, he would go someplace and help somebody. Right now, he's like the OG. You're right, the Udonis Haslem spot that, you know, is great and all that, but never plays. But he's still getting 18 minutes. So I just, you know, I'm a big Wolves fan. I watch all their games. I'm like, it's just Clang City, and he's just past his prime. You know, like Kyle Lowry, right? Kyle Lowry, we all love him. I mean, Bulldog, might even be a Hall of Famer. He's an OG for Philadelphia right now, right? They never play him. And there's a reason, because he's not getting it done on the court anymore. Coach James Young, you always get it done, man. Tell us about your next gigs on Sports Grid, and let people know where they can read you and watch you.
Yeah, so obviously at Coach Young NJ on social media. I have Pro Basketball Today, which Rick did a great job. I got to get you guys on, all of you guys on my show. Pro Basketball Today is on Monday, released on Tuesday. Then we do College Basketball Today on Wednesdays. We'll start College Basketball Today the weekend after the Super Bowl, kind of gear up for the NCAA tournament. But it's always a pleasure to talk hoops with you guys. And listen, it's okay to be an OG. PJ Tucker did that for 5 damn years. He was an OG.
There you go. Yes, sir.
On the sideline as a mentor to these young guys.
I want to make it very, very clear. I think every team in the NBA should have an OG. I love the OG spot. Okay, I want to make that clear. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not saying it's a waste of roster spot. But what I'm saying is that's where Mike Conley, that's his lane right now. He's the OG. Anyway, Coach, I appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon, all right?
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Coach James Young. We have Ryan Hollins coming up in about 10 minutes, guys. So let's get into the James Harden trade. All right. So
wait a second. Do I get to answer the Dallas Mavericks Washington Wizards trade? Do I?
Thank you for. I mean, obviously we got guests, and yes, because from the group chat, I recall, because it's been 3 of us said Washington won the trade. Are you going to tell us that Dallas won the trade, AO?
Oh, they didn't just win the trade. They blew the Washington Wizards out of the water on this trade, my friend.
Wow!
The capologist has spoken. Yes, sir.
Let's be realistic about something. Look, Dwight, you laid out beautifully what the GM of Washington has come in and been able to do and try and put themselves in a situation. And yeah, they're tired of losing, and yeah, this or that. But you know how I feel about Trae Young. He's not the answer to anything. And I feel even less so about AD at 33 years old, Mr. Glass. He's definitely not the answer to anything. So, like, look, guys, the Washington Wizards, okay, the last time that they were ever relevant was 2017 in the Eastern Conference semifinals, okay? They don't have the pedigree unless you go back to the 77, 78 Bullets to have a conversation about anything they've ever done. The Mavericks, on the other hand, and I hear what you're saying, Rick, about the Adelson group, like maybe you should take the team away from them. But guess what? They had a run, and they still have Cuban in their ear, and they had a tremendous run with Nowitzki. They have pedigree. They're a franchise that has pedigree. They are the ones who made a great trade to get Luka and ultimately went to the finals. They are a team and a destination in Texas where people want to be. Players want to be. The teams in Texas are exciting. Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. That is something in the NBA where players want to go play, and income tax is a big reason down in Texas. A different conversation for a different time. But the reality is this. The Mavericks took their shot in what Nico Harrison took his shot, whether it was him or not, or whatever you want to say, and they brought AD over, and they tried to pair him with Kyrie, and they brought some other players in, and they did all these things before they got lucky with Flag. It didn't work, clearly, okay? AD and Kate and Kyrie, what did they play? One game together? Literally one game.
That's crazy.
And then Dallas is smart enough. They're a franchise that's smart enough to realize, blow it up, move on. We've got Flag. We lucked out of our shoes to get him. Let's do this better. We have to blow this team up, and we have to build around him. That is what good franchises do. AD's salary, his contract is ridiculous. The man is 2 years away from making a $62 million player option. Good luck, Washington, with that 2 years from now. Dallas understands what they were able to get off of, okay? Klay Thompson at a mid-level exception is only $17 million next year on the books. Great chip they're going to have next year for that trade and what they're going to do. They took Chris Middleton's expiring contract back. Great move. They took Marvin Bagley Jr.'s expiring contract back as part of this. Great move. They have the resources and the ability, and they have their own pick this year, okay? Their picks get murky after the next couple of years. But next year, this year, 2026, they actually have their own pick. And they are trying to get themselves into the top 5 right now. Kyrie's not going anywhere. He'll come back healthy. You talk about an OG or a guy who could be on that team and stabilize for another 2 years, okay? As the point guard position, that's Kyrie Irving. He's still got the juice left. Mavericks are going to be rebuilt and do it very quickly. This was smart of them. Let Washington take the big swing and see if they can make this. I mean, like, they've got unbelievably young guys in Sarr and Johnson and who aren't that great in Bub Carrington and Kalelaby. Like, they're okay. They're good. I like Keyshawn George. You know I do. Dwight, he's our guy. He's your guy, certainly. So I'd love to see him continue to come up the ranks very quickly, and that's cool. And they have the cap space beat out. You mentioned that. But if you're building around KD and Trae Young, AD and Trae Young, I'm not buying it. So, like, great on paper, fun on the billboards, fun to bring fans back to the arena. But Dallas is a smart franchise. They have the pedigree these last couple of decades. They've proven it. I'm very proud of them for moving as fast as they did and getting this done under the deadline. They won this trade. They're going to be back and relevant within 2 or 3 years. Watch.
I'm proud of you guys.
Great point.
I'm proud of you. You guys are all lit. You guys are all at max level today, man. And I'm loving this, man. Trade deadline day. Our guys are feisty. They're in the zone. This may come off as jokes, but it's not jokes. Okay. You mentioned that Dallas got super lucky for Cooper Flag. It wasn't luck. I can tell you right now, it wasn't luck. Okay. It was a league hookup is what it was. They were like, the NBA league office was like, you dumbasses just ruined one of the best franchises in our universe, and you ruined it. Every single fan in your city hates you right now. We can't have this. This is not good for the business of basketball, okay? And so the NBA said, how can we fix this mess that these dummies created? Oh, we give them Cooper Flag. What a great idea. They get Cooper Flag with what? 3.3% odds or 1.7% odds or 0.7% odds or whatever it was, right? I mean, are you serious right now?
No,
that was a league hookup. That was I will die on that hill. That is not a conspiracy theory. Guys, that's way too much of a coincidence to just hit me upside the head with a frying pan, okay? I ain't going with that. Ryan Hollins is going to be out with us soon, but do you guys agree with me or not?
No, 100%. 100%. I'm the same.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The dominoes fell in place too well for that. For them to get that number one pick.
I'm good.
Everything Abe said 100% facts. Just less than a month ago, the Dallas Mavericks were in salary cap space hell. Now they cleared up $67 million, and they have a potential $25 million to work with. And they still have Kyrie. You know, they got Kyrie's contract, depending on what they do with him. After Ryan gets off, I seen something that says Najee Marshall. He has a top 25, cited as a top 25 value contract in the NBA. I would love for you to expand on that more. I really don't know the meaning for that. After Ryan, because I know Ryan's about to come on.
You can answer it right now. Ryan's not quite. You can answer it right now, and we don't have Ryan just yet. We'll have him in hopefully in a couple minutes.
All right, so I got to look up a little bit. I've seen it before, but I got to look up a little bit, right? So his total value of $27 million, right? He's going through
the capologist. The capologist is on the job.
He's on the job, yeah. So he's $9 million this year, and he's only $9.5 million next year, with fully guaranteed through next year. But he's an unrestricted free agent after that, with only a 5% trade kicker, which is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, look, $9 million annually that's a number, right? That people want. Look, you see what's happening around the league, or why these trades are made, okay? In terms, like Najee Marshall next year is going to be part of the equation when you're moving a guy like Conley right now, or you're moving DeSamo, or everything that the Bulls have done, everything that, or why even Jared McCain gets moved, guys. Because what needs to be understood is what's going on with the first apron. This is what we need to talk about, and I'm so glad you brought this up, B-Dot, right? Celtics getting off Anthony Simons, or why they did that, and certainly I brought it up with Young, but bringing back Vucevic, they actually brought themselves below the first apron, okay? So the reality is, now that we're past the trade deadline, all of these guys who are getting waived right now, if they're over $14.5 million on the books previously, they can get signed by a team who's at least under the first apron. You have to be, not just the second apron, you have to be under the first apron. Rick, I know you're not happy about what your Wolves have been doing, but the moves they made, guess what? Brought them under the first apron. So there's opportunity for whoever's getting waived is going to be your guard coming in, right? Not just DeSamo. I'm saying his name wrong, but like that's not who you're expecting. And the Dillingham thing was a major miss because of what they traded to the Spurs just to be an opportunity to get him. But maybe they can rectify this because they got themselves under the apron, right? Who matters out there? I mentioned Chris Middleton, who's making $33 million a year. Chances are Dallas is going to waive him. And if they do, and he made over $14.5 million, who wants him on the team? Does he go to a Boston? The 76ers getting off McCain got themselves under the first apron. And Marshall is somebody who's going to matter next year with his $9 million when you package him, that's going to be able to get a team as part of the trade that's made under that apron, because that is what matters moving forward. There's the luxury tax you're paying being in the second apron, and there's the ability to sign waive guys after the trade deadline once you're under that first apron. So that's exactly what's going on here, and there are teams that matter. The Lakers are under the apron, believe it or not, bringing in Kennard, that trade, and everybody's all excited about Kennard coming in. Well, it did two things at once. It gave them a shooter, from three ball, but it also got them under the first apron. So they're going to be, and they have an opportunity to sign somebody else after the fact. That the next wave of what happens between now and effectively, I think it's March 5th, if I'm thinking about it, the date, you got basically another month when all these guys get waived to get another team. So there's a lot more that's happening after. Like the NBA got really exciting once the aprons were introduced and all this action is happening. B-Dot, I hope that answered your question.
100%. I appreciate that. And we can't forget Middleton has an expiring contract also. And the next biggest contract on that roster outside of Kyrie is PJ. So yeah,
but PJ's on the books for like 6 years.
He's on the books. He's good.
They're not getting off of him. What you're looking at is like Lively, or you're looking at Gafford, and you're wondering what the next 2 years. Yeah. Clay, to me, he's 17 this year. He's 17 next year. He becomes a chip next year. But more specifically, like, when you're talking about Dallas and you're talking about Kyrie, like Kyrie he's $40 million and I think $42 million, but he has a 15% trade kicker and he's coming off a torn ACL. That trade kicker that 15% means that he gets to be like, oh, you're paying me another bonus to move. And if you want to have the conversation and bring it back to our boy James Harden right now, this is why it's really interesting. He waived his own kicker to go to Cleveland. It's an extra $2.5 million that didn't come to him to go there. This stuff matters, okay? And you don't, none of us really know behind the scenes what Cleveland discussed with him in terms of coming there and doing another contract, right? I mean, we all remember how pissed off he was at Daryl Morey and felt like he was lied to with Philadelphia. I mean, Harden's history is so interesting, right? His 5 years on the Rockets was incredible. Then he goes to Brooklyn, then he goes to Philadelphia, and both of those were total disasters. He goes down to to Los Angeles, and he's quiet for a couple years. He's just putting up the numbers. He's playing. The team's going nowhere, but nothing's coming out of him. Now he's 36 years old, and he actually might be playing nice with the one team where he lands, and that's his last chance at Cleveland to get a 2 or 3 year extension. Or do they just flex his player option? I guarantee you those conversations were had after the mess that would happen with Morey. This was discussed before he got to Cleveland this time as to what's going to happen, in his future. And he was willing to move off that trade kicker to get over to Cleveland. Interesting stuff.
We already know how Harden in Cleveland will go. He'll be there 2 years. He'll ask out. It'll be the same drama all over again. And Dwight, just quickly a joke here. The only person on planet Earth who enjoys the first and second apron is A.M. Pfeffer. Because I know GMs around the league freaking hate it. Go ahead, Dwight.
No, I was going to say, did you guys, two things. Did you guys recognize how quickly the Clippers reacted once James Harden went to the front office and said, I want to get paid? When they said he wasn't going to get paid, the next thing you knew, at halftime of the primetime game on NBC on Tuesday night, Harden for Darius Garland. That happened so quickly because they knew how toxic the previous trade demands from Harden had gotten with his previous teams. So they were off this guy with the quickness, right? So that's what happened here. They wanted zero part of James Harden going forward. So I give them credit where credit is due on that one.
Hey,
the Clippers made the right move. Yeah, go ahead.
I know you were mentioning about Danny Ainge, making that trade, and it's being probably the best trade, draft trade ever in the history of NBA. Remember when Dan Gilbert, they did that salary dump trade, and the Cavs, they took on Baron Davis, that $27 million contract from the Clippers in exchange for an unprotected pick, and that pick famously became Kyrie Irving. So I think that, and we're not the most Dan Gilbert fans, in general, just because with his history, but that's up there just because they got a ring. If they didn't get a ring, then but they got a ring off that. So I think that it's not better than Danny Ainge, but that's definitely top. We don't talk about enough, or people don't talk about.
You're so right, Dot. You're so right. That was absolutely one of the better moves and one of the best trades ever. But like Tatum is a franchise guy who could be a Celtic for 15, 20 years, and everything about it. So it's exciting. Yeah.
So one more thing for the capologist here. Back to the Wizards, AM. I'd be very surprised. I want to hear your feelings on it. I'd be very surprised if they end up keeping D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum.
Hey guys, can I call timeout real quick? Can I call Dwight? Can you? We got Ryan. Can you just hold on to that question? And as soon as Ryan's over, we'll go back to that. I just don't want to keep him waiting. And again, we can't ask him about the Rockets. He works for the team, and so they didn't make any moves anyway. So we'll ask him some of the bigger stuff. But let's welcome on Ryan Hollins right now, a dear friend of the show, obviously longtime NBA big, the star analyst of the Houston Rockets. Ryan, thanks for making some time for us again here on Deadline Day.
What's going on, fellas? What's up?
What's going on, Ryan?
We're kind of talking James Harden right now, so let's bring you in on this. Who won that trade, Cleveland or the Clippers?
I think here's my stance, and don't quote me on it, but I think this is what people have mistaken. For one, I wonder why people have such a disdain for James Harden. Like they have their mind made up, this unforgiving mentality with him, and if they read per the sources, it ended up being business at the end of the day. He went to the Clippers.
Yeah.
He said, I'd like a 2-year, $80 million deal. They said it didn't work. And he said, let me go somewhere. And likely Cleveland stepped forward as a trade partner. And it's safe to assume from a player standpoint that they had agreed to a deal moving forward. And that's why it ended up happening. And for those who weren't paying attention that talk about how over the hill he is, he's playing unbelievable basketball. He's distributing the ball. He's hitting big shots. He's really been the engine that is keeping them where they are. And obviously, hats out to Kawhi Leonard. Anybody knows whenever he comes ready to play, he's one of the best that we have in the league. He still has it, and he's really uncanny because a lot of guys that miss that amount of time or have to get injured or that many surgeries, they don't look as good as Kawhi Leonard. He's extremely unique, and I'm to the point where I stopped trying to figure him out as an analyst in the game. But for James Harden, it was strictly business. I think the Clippers they were in dire need of getting younger, and they got a chance to get younger with Garland, and essentially with James Harden and Cleveland, they just needed a reset and an opportunity. And one thing you do is you pair him with Mitchell, and you try to see if he can bring the best out of Evan Mobley. And you saw him do it with Clint Capella. You saw him do it with Ivica Zubac and the bigs that he plays with. And I think that Evan Mobley, I would make him more. Dot, tell me if I'm wrong. I would say he's probably more comparable to like Anthony Davis. Like you're going to get the most bang for your buck with Evan Mobley and Anthony Davis when you have somebody throwing them lobs, hitting them for a 20-footer, hitting them for a trail three, putting a guy like that in a situation where he can catch and finish, and he's improved. You see the strength he's put on. I like the way that he's getting downhill. He's playing with more physicality. But James Harden is a guy who can go out and unlock that. And I think when you have an immense talent like Mobley, you want to keep giving it a chance. And I think I actually like the trade from both sides. And just sometimes you do need a reset. And again, James made that hard decision. And sometimes as athletes, we wait till it's too late. You wait till you're a free agent. You go, hey man, y'all bringing me back? Well, he got news that they weren't going to pay him the money he wanted up front.
I love that comparison.
B-Doc, go ahead with the question, man.
Oh, just to piggyback off that, I love that comparison that you made with Anthony Davis and Evan Mobley, because coming out of college, his comparison was like a Giannis, and his offensive game has developed so much more. That jump shot, the mid range, we already know what he can do on the defensive side. But my question for you, Ryan, man, thanks for being on. Always a pleasure to have you, brother. Looking good per usual. You played in the league during multiple trade deadlines. What's the emotional reality inside a locker room when the deadline approaches, especially for role players who know they're not untouchable?
Hey, for one, is that a family car, man? What are you sitting in, man? I remember you driving a sports car.
My mom watching the kids at the Airbnb. I'm out here in Dallas visiting my daughter, and I know I'm not going to get no work done with three of my daughters running around while I'm trying to film. So,
hey, man,
the car and the hot spot is my next best bet.
That used to be in a sports car, man. He's had a top down, man, letting it rip.
I got two car seats in the back, man. Two of them things. Come on now. Mickey Mouse got to stole my kids' headphones. Come on, they came a long way.
It's tough. The nerves get high, and you know that sometimes you're in a trade. Sometimes you're thrown in, and that's the reality. I was fortunate. Every time I was traded, I asked for a trade. Not that I demanded out, so hold your horses when people hear that. But I just came to an organization and was like, hey, I'm working hard to get minutes. Am I in your future plans? What are your thoughts here? And if you're not, you got to get up and move forward and go try to make your name elsewhere. And unfortunately, in the NBA, it's very rare that the organization you're with is going to value you as much as one of the 29 other teams. And there is a nervousness, Dot, to what you said, that where, dang, let me play my best. I'm not sure what's going to go on because, I might get traded. And then when there's no communication, things get a little awkward. Let's say like you're in Milwaukee, right? You got the Giannis situation. I don't think I've ever been in a locker room with a player of that magnitude where his name was in around the trade market. But you just beat one of the top teams in the NBA. They're going to be asking you about what the trade looks like or about Giannis or where he's going or any intel, So it can really suck the air out of a room. So I think it's tough for Milwaukee keeping honest. Not that they should have gotten rid of him, but they're going to hear about this all summer long, dog. Is it New York? Is it Miami? No matter what you do, you have to continue to hear about it. And it's really draining. Rick, you know that. And I would say from myself, trade-wise, dang, I had a story I was going to tell y'all. But now I know. The most gangster trade deadline that I ever went to was with the Charlotte Bobcats. Kid you, no lie here, man. We are about to play the New Orleans, right? And I kid you not, Larry Brown, OG. Larry Brown comes in. I'm in Charlotte, and he said, he said before the jump, I can't make this up. He said, I need you all to play well so I can trade you. He said, so when you get out there, play as hard as you can play, and I'm gonna trade you guys. You guys are gonna get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just straightforward. So like, honestly, it took it sounds callous, but it took the pressure off. And shout out to Larry Brown because he didn't have to do it, but like he took care of all of us. And like we kind of went out there to like, hey, like you've always been told in the NBA you're auditioning and you never know, but like him telling you that made it easier. So he sent me to Dallas with Dirk and JT and Jason Kidd and all those guys, Stackhouse. And I'm like, man, that's a memory. Like that was gold. Like for him to put me in that situation. He sent Adam Morrison and Shannon Brown to LA. He sent Jared Dudley and Jay Rich over to Phoenix with Steve Nash. So like he took care of us. Like,
That is
but
true.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that we went into a locker room before a game and he's like, play well so I can trade you. Like that was the message. So I respect Larry Brown. I love him for that. So sometimes there's tense situations. Hey, I was with the Clippers when we were told nobody was getting traded and the deadline passed and we got stuck on the tarmac for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And Antoine Jameson ends up traded and Byron Mullins, and we're all sweating bullets like, I thought we were good. This was the trade deadline. And it was like, hey, get your stuff, get off the plane. They're going to unpack you and we'll have a car waiting out front. And we're like, oh my God, like it's a business. And that you get moved that fast. They ask for you that fast when you are traded. So I'm fortunate, but I've seen both sides of it.
Oh, phenomenal storytelling with Ryan Hollins. I love it. Dwight Walt, what you got for Ryan?
Welcome back, Ryan. Hope all is well, man.
My man.
Listen, two-part question. Explain why okay, was the market low for Ja Morant? And did the Memphis Grizzlies outsell themselves? Did they want more for Ja? And that's why he's still a Memphis Grizzly as of right now? And can you please explain to me what's going on in Sacramento? Why is Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, and Russell Westbrook still members of the Sacramento Kings, and they have one of the oldest rosters in the NBA, and they're 12-40, one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Here's the thing. Do you play poker?
No, I don't. Sorry. No, I don't.
So for the poker players, and I know you understand the game, imagine if a guy gets his hand and he lights up, he starts looking around. Some people can't hold water. You're like, I'm folding, dog. He got it. He got it in his hands. Or, somebody, they get a hand, like, they want to get off Ja Morant. And everybody knows it. You see the frustrations. The media has taken bites. So I'm trying to get Ja for the low. I'm like, one first rounder? You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to get him for the low. And they're like, dude, this was one of the more dynamic young stars in the NBA. We need more than, just we need 4 draft picks. We need something. Jaren Jackson Jr. went for like they want a lot so that they can actually validly hit the reset button. We just got rid of Desmond Bain for 4 first rounders. Triple J just went for 2 or 3. Like you not gonna give us nothing for Ja. So they're going to be patient. And honestly, when you look at Memphis, the way they're starting to acquire picks, they're going to be fine for the future moving forward. So I think their poker hand was shown, whether it was intentional or not. And if you notice, some of the best trades come about when don't nobody know they're going to come because there's no interference.
Right.
And one thing they've also realized is that look at the Heat that Nico ended up fired. Nico ended up under siege for the Luka Doncic trade. Now, if you go back now after Anthony Davis was traded, it worked out. They got a lot for Luka Doncic. Okay, if you see add all things up, But ultimately, you can be fired because you let a guy go that was seemingly more caliber, seemingly more attractive, and you didn't get anything back. So they're going to hold put. They're going to ride it out, and they're going to get everything they can. And obviously, you saw the move for Bain and Jaren Jackson Jr., so they probably want that at least at a minimum or more.
You might want to
The other
fold, Ryan.
comments.
He's got 4 aces. You might want to fold your hand on that one.
Yeah. His eyes lit up. We know what you got, dog.
Just like you said.
We know what you got.
And the other part, Ryan, what about the Sacramento Kings? Why did they keep all of their veteran players? What's going on with that? Can you explain that?
Same reason. Same reason. If you're telling me you don't want them, why do I want them? So now what you got to do is you have to take back cash. You got to help me. Sometimes they're like salary dumps. So like, all right, well, we don't want this player, so you got to take them. And they couldn't see anything that essentially made sense. And it was intriguing to me. I think Sabonis was probably on the market, but the price of Sabonis was pretty high. Okay, the price of Sabonis was pretty high, so people are like, "No, he's coming off injury." There's more question marks than answers. Obviously, age is a problem. So whenever you trade for an aging player, he got to be playing extremely well. James Harden was traded for, but James Harden was all out balling. All right, that's why those moves were made. And I'm intrigued. Everything I'm hearing from Sacramento is like leaning towards the buyout market. So those guys may be looking for new homes, stay put, and they're like, hey, we're not gonna, because they would have had to take on more salary or a bad contract or a longer term contract to essentially be able to move on forward for those guys. So just the bang wasn't worth the buck. And again, if I know you don't want them, I know you're not being successful. Why do I want those problems? Your hand is essentially shown, and that can hinder a trade situation also.
AM Pfeffer, you got a question for Ryan Hollins?
I got 2 because I want to follow up. And Ryan, good to see you again.
Good
Dwight,
to see you, brother.
You brought up Sabonis now twice, and you're excited about him. Ryan, I kind of want to keep going with this on the conversation. Sabonis is an interesting guy. During the regular season, amazing and absolute stalwart. But you go back a couple years when Sacramento actually made the playoffs, he really showed the warts, didn't he? When it comes playoff time, do you think that there's a lot of teams who saw that and maybe that's why they didn't otherwise? There was no real market for him that materialized because they're just concerned come playoff time he's not the guy you're really building around?
I think when they assessed Sabonis, I think it was more the injury. I think it was more the desperation from Sacramento, and Sacramento really loves him. He's their point guard. So from their mindset, they probably want to acquire another franchise style piece, or they wanted the compensation of draft picks, and it just didn't look worth it. I think what they make the playoffs once or possibly twice during his tenure. So I don't think you can properly assess what he is. But on the brighter side, he's that point center, point forward. You can list him right behind Nikola Jokic, Alperen Şengün, a guy that you legitimately run offense through, and he's a unique talent. And again, he can change your organization. But again, also, you look back, he's decent. I think he's mid-age. I wouldn't say he's a young guy anymore, but probably questions with the injury. So you don't want to have the question marks going in. You know what you got. And then what's also tough, you go to your boss, right? You go to ownership. You made this big old trade, and you say, "Well, who'd you get? It's a bonus." And they go, "Well, we want to see our Ferrari. We want to see our new toy." And we're like, "Well, it's in the parking garage getting fixed right now." That's a hard sell sometimes. And I think a market that maybe would have been able to do it, like Washington, is saying, cool, we're jumping into the draft. We're preparing for next year. So maybe that was a team that was in play, and they ended up biting on Anthony Davis. Maybe they could have got Anthony Davis a lot cheaper than they would have been able to make a move for Sabonis. So there's a million plays in favor. Atlanta Hawks maybe were another team and play there. They end up moving Porzingis, and some of those teams are looking to dump. So you got teams, and this is one of the more deeper drafts coming up than we've seen in a long time, that are also gearing up for the draft, and they already made their move. They were first to the punch in a sense.
Love it. Appreciate that. And here's the second question. Let's bring it all the way back to Harden for a second, because we were in the midst of having the conversation with, who won the trade, or was this even good for Cleveland? At first I was like that emoji, that like the monocle, like where you're looking up like, he just like, but then all of a sudden, like I swear, the more I thought about it, I switched, and all of a sudden I'm the big smiley face for Cleveland. I actually love the trade for Cleveland. I think this is even bigger and better than a lot of people who are even on the Harden train are giving it credit for. And one of the reasons is what you were talking about. I mean, obviously what these are going to be able to do for the two bigs as long as they remain on the team, and all of a sudden they're like up at the rim and their offensive prowess jumps a whole level. But there's another big thing going on here that's not being talked about enough, and that is Donovan Mitchell's usage rate. Here's a shooting guard who's top 12 usage rate in the league, right?
Yes.
And somebody somewhere is in that building was looking at it as like, Darius Garland is taking, thank you for that. That's perfect monocle, is taking no pressure off our all-star starter, potential MVP candidate, and he's doing it all and shouldering too much of a load. Now you bring in an on-ball point guard in Harden and who he is, and if he plays nice, maybe this works. What do you think?
But one of the biggest argument against James Harden, we talked about this. People are holding back his Houston days against them, or saying that he went and he didn't win, and he had everything he wanted in Houston. And what does that have to do with today, or why are people so upset that a guy, in a sense, realized he didn't have enough, or he wanted more help, and he went on? This is not the 1980s or 90s Lakers or Chicago Bulls where stars didn't move. Now, if you don't get traded or move or pair with somebody, you can't compete. Okay, everybody, all those stars were essentially lifers with their team, and through trades and free agency, the NBA is more competitive than ever. And these teams don't have loyalty, so why should players, in a sense? So James Harden did what he felt was best to try to get a ring during his playing span. And the second argument is that, well, he's not ready in the playoffs. He's not a guy that pushes you over the edge. Well, my question to people is, who is? Name to me the guy that puts you over the edge. We're counting on our fingers now. Giannis did it in Milwaukee. He can put you over the edge. Luka Doncic's gotten you close, but no cigar ultimately to put you over the edge. Anthony Edwards hadn't been able to do it. Now, somebody's going to get next up. Shea did it, but Shea had a heck of a cast behind it. So we'll say SGA can do it. We can say Jokic can do it. Embiid hasn't done it. So again, who are these players that can put you over the edge? And again, because of James Harden's play style, he brings on so much attention. But I think those who actually watch basketball, and again, the key is to minimize the usage for Donovan Mitchell, and now you get easy layups from Mobley, and you get somebody who can help out. And it's a sense, if you're Cleveland, you're not with all due respect, I played in Cleveland, you're not a super desirable free agent destination landing spot. And if you've seen the climate of free agency now, players don't even hit free agency. James Harden and these guys are hitting the model where they just sign extensions and they never hit free agency. So with this, I'm going to give you the cheat code now. I want you guys to get out your pen and pad, and this is what these stars do now. They go in their as their year is coming up in free agency, and they go to the organization and they say, give me an extension. And if they don't sign the extension, and they say, well, give me a trade. We saw it with Jimmy Butler, and now these mega stars are never hitting free agency. You are not seeing, the Kevin Durant's, and you're not seeing the Steph Currys. You're not seeing these guys and LeBron James. A couple years ago, they're never hitting free agency because those extensions are done, or they're being traded ahead of time, and they're getting ahead of their business and their affairs. So that's the way you're going to have to build. And even if you're Cleveland, this is the way that you're going to acquire talent. And James Harden's a pretty darn good talent to go out and acquire.
Man,
Brian, you mentioned the climate of free agency. Have you seen the climate in Cleveland recently? I mean, you played there. It's got to be 5 degrees, minus 35 wind chill. And James Harden wanted to go there, and he's a Southern California guy. Ryan, can't thank you enough for the time, man. We love you. You're a dear friend of the network, and we'll be in touch, man. But enjoy All-Star break, and we'll be in touch down the line. Appreciate you, Ryan.
Hey, appreciate you, Rick. Great seeing you, boys. Great show. And Dot, I'm laughing, man. That boy got the family car. You know what I'm saying? I remember he was a young women star. He was ripping and running around LA. You know what I'm saying? He was in the club. He was smacked out. That boy got the family car. The kids, the toys in the back, man.
Came a long way, man,
All
from
right,
that I-8 to a Chrysler. Hey, man, it be like that.
All right, guys.
I love it. All right, Ryan. Peace, man. Thank you for joining us.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you, Ryan.
Oh, man. I
Oh,
love
man.
it.
Our guests are killing it today. These guys are amazing, Rick.
This is so much fun, man. This is so much fun. You guys got any reaction to that? That was, I love the story he told. Doc, great question, dude, about the emotion and the stress of getting, and he gave us a phenomenal answer on that. Include, like, I love Larry Brown. Like, I'm going to do a Larry Brown for you. Remember, he'd always do that to the refs. He'd give them the two, he'd complain a little bit, and then just wave the hand at him and walk away in his brilliant suit.
I love to have Larry Brown on the show. I would love him to have on the show.
Yeah, for real.
His relationship with Allen Iverson, I would love to hear the insight of
man.
that, bro. Just, I'm sorry, it's off
I don't
topic.
think I've had some cool conversations with him, but never got a number. But I love me some Larry Brown, man. But Larry Brown told his team, play well so we can trade you. Ryan's right. That's the most gangster thing I've ever heard. And it worked.
NBA insider, like, beyond. That alone was the nugget of gold.
Man.
So
awesome.
let me dive in here. Unless you guys got any other thoughts, do we have anything to wrap up? Did anybody feel like? Because I'm so glad you brought that up. We had to hear your opinion on the Mavs and Wizards trade. All right, so let me just hit you with my opinion here on who won the Harden trade, and let's get everybody on record here. To me, the Clippers they blew them out. The Clippers blew out the Cavaliers in this trade. Like Mike Tyson versus Marvis Frazier back in the day. You remember that 30-second joint, right? Kobe Altman just got flowers from me, and he typically does. I really like his work. The DeAndre Hunter trade I thought was fantastic for them. I said he's the best GM nobody talks about. I still believe that. This is a mistake. And you know what? To me, the GOAT of shot calling in the NBA is Jerry West. He's the GOAT. Danny Ainge might be on the Mount Rushmore, but Jerry West is the GOAT, okay? He gave Brian Cardinal, remember the janitor? Brian Cardinal, 6 years and $34 million, okay? One of the worst contracts I've ever seen. It just was a horrible decision. But even GOATs make mistakes. Did Jordan hit every game-winning shot? No, he did not, okay? Here's why Kobe made a mistake. And I want you to take your pen and lick it, right? Take some notes. I'm just kidding. But here's why Kobe made a mistake. The Cavs traded a young all-star ×2 in his prime for a 36-year-old rental player. Okay. Dwight speculated that, maybe they got a deal already kind of worked out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's James Harden. Anything is possible. As it stands right now, he's a rental player. This year, he's at around $40 million. And I'm not saying that Harden's not playing well this year. He's playing at an all-star level for sure, all right? Next year, it gets dicey. He's got a player option with only 13.8 of his 49.2 million guaranteed, all right? So essentially right now, he's in a walk year. So to me, unless they figure something out, he's headed back to free agency with his hand out for a max contract or near max again, entering his age 37 season. And I say good luck with that to James. And good luck with that to Kobe Altman and Dan Gilbert. The Cavaliers, and now we get to the underbelly of the turtle. And I'm not sorry. Look, James Harden is an incredibly complicated player. The regular season body of work is phenomenal. It's all-time great. The playoff body of work is rather awful, okay? And that's consistent. That's different teams, different machinations, different setups. He's the 1, he's the 2, he's the 3. It never works. It never works. So why do we think it's going to work now? Okay, didn't work in Brooklyn, didn't work in Philly, didn't work with the Clippers, didn't work in OKC back in the day, ultimately didn't work in Houston. Why all of a sudden is it going to work in Cleveland? It's not. the Cavaliers are going to sour on Harden when he goes 3 for 13 with 9 points in another disappearing act in a death game in the second round against Doc and AM's New York Knicks. Okay? So, or Harden will turn on the Cavaliers and say some bull junk, right? We gave it a shot, but I just don't feel like we have enough. I need a better shot at winning a championship. Guys, the Clippers gained 10 years. 10 years going 36 Harden, 26 for Garland. Period. Well, for me, I know we're debating here, but for me, that's just, they won the trade right there. Think about Garland for a second, guys. I know he misses a lot of games, right? Last year, he played 75 games, okay? And he helped the Cavaliers win 64 games, okay? And he played nice with Don, and it worked and all that kind of stuff, all right? 6+ years in the league. He's in year 7 right now. Garland averages 19 points and 7 assists per game. Pretty badass. And his shooting splits are 45, 38, 86. This guy's a hell of a player, okay? He's in the 3rd year of a 5-year, 197 contract, and I like that stability for the Clippers. So we've had guests and stuff, so I forget who has opined on Harden and not. So I think the Clippers won the trade. And just bring me back to who's talked about this and who hasn't, and who needs some shine right now.
I think the Cavaliers won the trade. I understand the 10-year difference. I have a major concern. Yes, James Harden is probably on the back 9 of his career, but he is averaging 25 and close to 9 assists per game. Yes, Garland is averaging 19 and 7, but I'm concerned with that toe. That toe he had surgery on. It hasn't fully healed. He re-injured it again. He's going to be out for some time, I believe. The Clippers will probably shut him down for the rest of this season unless they want to take a look at him as we go towards the end of the season. But that toe is a concern. But I believe the Cavaliers genuinely thought, especially Kobe Altman, that the current roster didn't have a shot at coming out of the Eastern Conference. They saw the urgency. They saw an opportunity to get an all-time great to pair in their backcourt with Donovan Mitchell, and they took a swing. I like it. I think it might unlock the bigs of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. It may take the ball out of the hands of Donovan Mitchell a little bit. To your point, Rick, that he is a high-usage 2 guard, not even a point guard, but a 2 guard. Maybe some of this will be relieved by James Harden. I like the move. It's a move that shows urgency for the Cavs and the Cavs fan base that they have a chance to win this season. They believe that. Do we believe that? That's something completely different. But they believe that, especially in an Eastern Conference where they feel it's wide open. And they're hoping that this James Harden acquisition is their Rasheed Wallace back in 2004 to Detroit. That's the moment they're hoping for. I don't think it will be that, but I'm sure that's Kobe Altman's thinking for the Cavs at this playoff run. Mute.
Oh, you're mute, Rick.
B-Dot, who won this trade?
I think the Cavs did. They kept the core of their team. They kept their superstar. They kept their two great, good frontline defenders. They still got Tyson, who had a hell of a game last night. Yeah, Dennis Schroeder had a hell of a game last night. Granted, it was against the depleted Clippers, but it shows you the confidence. Dennis was out there doing his thing, hooping. They look good, and granted, it wasn't against anybody, that was crazy or a top Eastern Conference team, a top Western Conference team, but they kept majority of their core. Yeah, they got rid of Darius Garland, who's been 20-7 in the past 6 years, the only NBA player to do that ever within his first 7 to 6 years of playing NBA ball. So they definitely lost a great point guard, a good point guard, but he's going over to that Western Conference where there are a lot of great point guards and a lot of a long defensive lineup, defensive players. Not saying he's not going to be great, but at the end of the day, the Cleveland Cavaliers won this trade. Now, whether they keep Harden, whether they keep him or not, they still have the core and the bulk of their team and their players, and I'm going with Cleveland.
Hey,
Rick,
who won this trade?
Can I jump in? Yeah,
of course.
thank you. Yeah, the Cavaliers won the trade. I like what the Clippers did. I like everything you said, and again, I give the Clippers, a lot of credit for moving off the way that they did. There's not a lot of acrimony, but there's two other things, because you heard me say a lot about James Harden when we were talking to Hollins, and I love the two ideas, obviously, specifically about what he could do for the bigs and specifically about what he could do for Donovan and the usage rate. But there's two other things going on here with him that really need to be discussed, because yeah, he has the history, and yeah, we all know what happened, but he's 36 years old and he's an anomaly, and anomalies are hard to find. And what I mean by that is, at 34 years old and his size and his position, he should be falling off a cliff. Nope, didn't happen. Should have been an all-star this year, and we've talked about that. Should have been an all-star in the West. If he was in the East, it wouldn't even be a question. He'd absolutely be an all-star. So that alone is crazy. He's the anomaly. Bet on the anomaly, and I don't think he's going to fall off the cliff anytime soon, especially for Cleveland, who might want him for 2, possibly 3 years. And secondly, Cleveland knows what they're getting this time, okay? There was what happened when he left Oklahoma City and went down to Houston, but he played on Houston for a very long time. And then there's obviously what happened when he went to Brooklyn and Philadelphia and how he ended up on the Clippers. Those back-to-back-to-back dingers are brutal on his resume and his history and his lineage, but he's been playing nice for a couple years on the Clippers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers at 36 years old know what they're getting in James Harden. This is an eyes wide open situation. Wasn't the case in Brooklyn, wasn't the case in Philadelphia, and it was half the case for the Clippers. Totally different now. Totally different stage of his career. Totally different as to what he wants to do and who he wants to play with for a couple more years and what Cleveland wants out of him. Ultimately, this is going to be a good decision for them. They're going to be in the mix. I don't know what happens when they get to the playoff times. Rick, you make a great point about his own history. But again, there was too much expectation on him as the number 1 or number 2. He's not even the top 3 option on that team going into the playoffs as needed. If they can move him in a different direction to come playoff time, different situation. Donovan Mitchell can shoulder the load. Yet again, I like this move for Cleveland. The more I thought about it, this is their time to shine. This is their time, to go toe-to-toe with the other top 3 in the East. Good move.
The numbers say it, guys. The numbers don't lie. James Harden, regular season career, 24 points a game, shoots 44%. Playoffs, 22 points a game, 42%. And look, James Harden has big game 1s, game 2, game 3, game 4. He has big games. He gets your hopes up. It's 2-2, and it's game 5. And that's when it starts. I'm just saying, we're going to watch it play out. Cleveland's going to be in a playoff series or 2, and this will all play out. And I've said this on every platform I've been on. This has been consistent, and I think completely legitimate criticism of James Harden. Okay, he did it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. He did it. Okay, or didn't do it. But I've been consistent with this the whole time. If James Harden can ever thread the needle and finally crack the code of the safe, finally crack that code. It would help if you got out of the nightclub every night to crack that code, but he hasn't cracked that code yet. If and when he can crack that code, I will give him every single flower down here in Clearwater and St. Pete. I will go to a florist. I'll spend 10 grand on flowers and give it to James Harden, okay? I don't dislike this guy, okay? I don't. I dislike Steve Kerr. I don't dislike James Harden. I'm just a fair critic of his. But I am here for the Renaissance. I am here for him finally getting it done in a game 7, game 6, and really winning big. We've just never seen it before. And I'm not saying but in this case, I feel like I got a really good read on this guy. I've covered his entire career, man. So you guys like the trade. I don't. 3-1. I'll take an L here. All right, quickly before we get Yovan Buha on, I want to get us kind of on record here. B-Dot, you first. Is Luke Kennard to the Lakers a needle mover for you at all?
I mean, it depends on what kind of needle it is. If we're doing turntable needle, then it's just going right back around and coming back to the same old thing. Man, Luke is cool, man. Luke is cool. He's a great shooter, a hell of a shooter. But, I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't get better defensively. They really didn't. I mean, yeah, they got better. They just got better shooting wise. That's it. It didn't move the needle at all. It didn't even move the ballpoint pen of mine. It's just okay. We got another that can shoot. He's a cone. He's a cone on defense. So like, you can't hide him. They're not like the Cavaliers where you can hide James Harden. And Harden's a decent defender, but you got guys like Tyson, Donovan Mitchell. You got those two monsters in the paint. James don't have to play that crazy of a defense. You feel me? Versus Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron James. Like, who you gonna send him to? DeAndre Ayton? You feel me? Like, Jackson Hayes not there no more, and he wasn't a great shot blocker, so it didn't move anything, nothing major at all. It's just another person that can shoot. And yeah, he's just going to be standing in the corner waiting for Luka to pass the ball coming off that screen after he dribbles 900 times.
So I'm going to give you a quick answer on this. It does not move the needle for me at all. Here's why. Luke Kennard's percentages look pristine and some of the best of all time and all this kind of stuff. If you, like, I'm a fantasy basketball player, okay? That means you track every game. Luke Kennard is so streaky, guys. He'll pop off 7-8 threes, 28 points, and then it's 3. And then it's 5, and then it's 2, and then it's 9, and then another pop up to 22. Okay. He's very, very, very streaky. All right. And he's extremely injury prone. This guy barely ever plays. Okay. Let's go to games played. Wow. This year he's played 46. Amazing. 65, 39, 59, 70, 63, 28, 63, 73. This dude has a tough time staying on the court. Dwight Walton, is this a needle mover for you at all?
Here's the deal.
That's a no.
JJ Redick understands the assignment. He figures with this current roster, let me add one of the best 3-point shooters percentage-wise currently in the NBA, and let's try to outscore our opponent. If you've noticed, he is doing his damnedest to try and hide the Lakers' defensive deficiencies by playing a zone for the first, I want to say, 14 to 16 seconds of the shot clock. Then they go to a man trying to say, you know what? We can't guard in the half court for the full 24, so let's try and do our best in the final 8 seconds of a shot clock. Let's try to contest the jump shot and see if we can get the rebound and get out and run and get open shots before the defense can set. So that's what's happening here. That's what the Lakers are doing. So it moves the offensive needle. It definitely doesn't address the issue of their lack of defense where they are the bottom 5 currently in the NBA.
So, guys, we have had 3 guests on, and we have a 4th. For our trade deadline extravaganza, another dear friend of the network here as we welcome in Yovan Buha, Lakers insider, and does absolutely fantastic work. And so, Yovan, you have moved. I see the new setup. It's all looking great. How are you, man?
We got the new setup going. Yeah. Excited about it.
No, it looks absolutely fantastic. So we are debating right now. Does the Luke Kennard trade move the needle at all for you for these Lakers?
I think it's a marginal needle mover, excuse me. Like the Lakers, I think, entered this deadline with 3 clear needs: defense, athleticism, and 3-point shooting. They addressed one of those 3 needs. Now, in my opinion, shooting was the 3rd need in the pecking order. Like, clearly defense is, I mean, this group has been a bottom 10, if not bottom 5 defense for most of the season. When you look at, like, come playoff time, right? You're going to have Luka, LeBron, and Austin all playing 38 to 40 minutes or so. There's just a limitation there with those 3 players on the floor defensively. So you really need a certain caliber of defense from your other 2 spots. So when I look at a guy like Luke Kennard, I like him in bench groups. I think the Lakers outside of Rui Hachimura have not had a lot of shooting within the rotation. But if you're telling me, like, is he ever going to play with the big 3? Is he ever going to be that, like, 4th perimeter player out there? I just don't see it, because even when they've had a guy like Rui out there, who is around in average, maybe like below average defender, he can be exploited in that fourth spot, and they just don't have enough defense. So I think it moves the needle because I think he's better than Gabe Vincent, who had been struggling recently. The Lakers had really struggled with him defensively, and he had not been shooting the ball as well offensively. So I think Luka at least presents a clear upgrade in the shooting. He has a clear skill that addresses a need for LA. But in general, to me, he's more of like a 9th or 10th man in the rotation. So like it helps. But what this group really needs, I think, was like a new starting level player. And unfortunately for them, they didn't land that at this deadline.
All right, guys, let's get to the real on why this is important.
Thing was a disaster. Go ahead, AM.
Yeah.
Yo, good to see you again, man. Welcome back to the show. Let's get into it because you are a resident Laker guy. The Kennard move for Vincent really did one thing. I mean, besides some three-point shooting, it brought the Lakers below the first apron. They were this close, but the extra $500,000 makes a huge difference. Now there's an opportunity after the wave period to bring somebody in, right, who actually matters way more than Luke Kennard. Who's out there? Who do we think the Lakers are going to get? So this doubles up for what happened with Kennard. This moves the needle if there's part two, if there's A to the B. It doesn't move the needle bringing Luke Kennard, right? But like, what do you think? Are the Lakers going to do that? And who they bringing in?
Yeah, so they have an open roster spot right now. And looking at the buyout market, I think the three top guys in some order are probably Haywood Highsmith, Cam Thomas, and Lonzo Ball. And I think each one of those players could help the Lakers. I'm not as much of a Cam Thomas guy, especially within the context of the Lakers already have three ball dominant players who are just better than Cam Thomas. And I also think when you're in a rebuilding situation and your incumbent team looks at you and says, hey, we don't think you should be a part of this. Like on paper, he checks the box of like a potential future all-star. He's averaged 20 plus a couple seasons and he's clearly a walking bucket, but Brooklyn reduced his role this year and was trying to trade him, wasn't able to find a suitor and ended up cutting him. And it's like, if Brooklyn's saying we don't believe in you as a future piece here, Cam Thomas, that's a bit of a red flag for me. And the Lakers just don't need any more rotation guys who can't defend. Cam Thomas is not really interested in defending, so I would skip on that one. I look at Haywood Highsmith as he has not played this season, but the last couple of years has been a two-way wing for Miami. And so if you can now add Haywood Highsmith to this group, he is coming off of an injury again. He has not played this season, but a couple seasons in a row being an above average three-point shooter. And he's in that 6'5", 6'6" rangy wing mold, which the Lakers desperately need. If they could add that type of player, I think that moves the needle more for me. Lonzo is interesting too. He just has not shot the ball well. Obviously, has dealt with a lot of injuries, and there's just always kind of that risk with him. But I would prioritize more defensive-minded players than offensive-minded players. You added your offensive guy in Kennard. Now I think you need to find some defense and athleticism.
And we'll see who shakes loose, right, in the next couple of weeks on the wave.
Exactly.
It could be somebody else.
Certainly have other players enter the mix in the next couple of days.
Our guys, producer Jason Arambulo and our technical director Kai Josephson, they had the battle of the hair. They put that at the bottom. I don't know if you guys saw that. You guys both have really, really, really good hair. There's no question about it. So maybe we'll have a hair off later in the show. B-Dot, hit Yovan Buha with a question.
Oh, man, man, thank you for being on the show once again, man.
Good to see
looking
you,
at this 2026 trade deadline, you know, Giannis not moving, Josh staying put, Golden State standing still, Cleveland swinging big, and Washington accelerating fast. Did this deadline ultimately prove that front offices and ownership have taken leverage back from stars, or are teams just delaying the inevitable and kicking the can down the road?
I think each situation is different, so it really depends on which team or situation we're talking about. But certainly, like, this was anticipated to not be that active of a trade deadline. You go back a few days ago and all the newsbreakers are talking about, there's not maybe the honest situation was holding things up, but even, to a lesser degree, it was like, there's just not much going on right now. And then all of a sudden the last 2 days have been complete chaos, starting with the James Harden, Darius Garland trade, and then immediately into the Jaren Jackson trade, and then all the trades we've seen here. I think it's something like over 20 trades over the last 72 hours or so. It's been a very active close to the deadline. But certainly, I think one of the biggest things we've seen with a lot of the moves has been the punitive cost with this new CBA and the first apron, second apron. Like, teams are having to make some tough financial decisions that you saw the Clippers just tear it down entirely. But Cleveland was looking to make moves they were floating Jared Allen out there to potentially get off of him, ended up making, the Harden Garland trade, and ended up getting off of DeAndre Hunter to save some money. So a lot of teams right now are making moves to like more financially first rather than like roster first. And I think that's been a consequence of the new CBA is like, it feels like teams have shorter life cycles with their rosters. And inevitably you reach a point where you're like, hey, we kind of got to make a tough decision here. One team to watch, going into the summer is going to be OKC. Like, especially if OKC doesn't win the title, they have team options for Lou Dort and Isaiah Hartenstein. They might have to trade one of those guys, and it's just like a casualty of the new CBA. So, I think that was a big motivating factor here, was like getting out of some of these bad contracts, clearing your cap sheets. And that's something that the Lakers, to bring it back to the Lakers, like they're going into the summer with potentially 50 to 60 million in cap space. And they're hopeful that they could benefit either trading Giannis into that cap space or potentially getting a Dort or Hartenstein or someone who shakes loose that they feel like they could trade for one of those guys.
Dwight, you already know what time it is. You already know.
What's going on, Jovan?
How's it going?
Listen. We do understand that it's Los Angeles, big city of dreams, and so my question to you is, are the Lakers going to be going big game hunting this offseason, or, as I've seen the NBA trending into a league of versatility and depth and youth and athleticism across the roster? Do you see Rob Pelinka trying to go back to a big three philosophy, or is he trying to add depth and versatility to this roster? And once again, that 1,000-pound elephant in the room. If LeBron James wants to stay in Los Angeles, or if he wants to go to a different team and contend, does he understand? And I've asked you this before. I don't see him, if he plays next season, which I think he will, I can't see him realistically demanding $25 to $35 million from a team, which will hinder them cap-wise and an inability to add versatility to a roster. So let's say he stays in Los Angeles. I believe Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick want to add depth and versatility and athleticism to this roster, particularly 3-and-D guys. If LeBron wants to be a part of that picture, he's got to take a massive haircut in terms of pay. What do you think will happen and will shake out for the Lakers this offseason?
Well, to start with the first part of your question, they are going big game hunting, and specifically for Giannis Antetokounmpo, they believe they have a shot to land Giannis this summer. I know it sounds pie in the sky, but if there's any franchise that can have that blind faith in potentially landing a star, it's the Lakers. Their entire the entire history of the franchise is landing stars out of thin air in a way that just no other franchise has been able to replicate, right? So they're confident that, especially if you look at some of the packages that were out there for Giannis, it was not the most attractive young players, right? Like, I think it's sort of eye of the beholder here, but there was not a lot. Like Houston didn't offer up Amen Thompson, right? San Antonio didn't offer up Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper. There was none of these like blue chip, clear future all-star guys on the table. It was a lot of like good players, solid players, some like starting level players. But I think the Lakers pitch would be, if the player part of the package does not dramatically increase and you don't see some of these teams actually put these blue chip guys on the table, the Lakers can offer 3 picks, technically 2 picks, plus they can draft the 2026 player on behalf of Milwaukee, and then say, hey, Milwaukee, you're in a tough situation right now. You stretch Damian Lillard. You have this anchor of his 20 plus million stretched out on your cap sheet every year. You got the Miles Turner contract that isn't going to be great if you trade Giannis. Like, we can give you some cap flexibility and the 3 picks. And then on top of that, they would create a giant trade exception where they could then, let's say Philly maybe wants to get off Paul George and sends him to Milwaukee. Philly can attach an additional pick or more assets to that. Then all of a sudden you look at the Giannis return, maybe you got like 4 firsts, a couple seconds, and it's not the players. But right now, again, I think the players are relatively underwhelming that have been offered. So that's the Lakers pitch. I will state for the record, I'm skeptical that they're going to be able to pull that off. I think there are several teams that could still offer some better players. And I don't think the Lakers are the leader in the clubhouse right now, but they think they have a real shot to land him, especially now that he didn't get traded. If they don't land Giannis, the goal will then be to look into free agency and look at some of these restricted free agents, Walker Kessler, Peyton Watson, Tari Eason. They can also, as I mentioned, if OKC needs to get off Isaiah Hartenstein or Lou Dort, or there's another team that needs to make a tough financial decision, the Lakers can swoop in and be like, hey, we'll take that player. We'll give you a first round pick. Boom. Now we added a starter to this group. So I think that there's different ways it can play out. They are walking a narrow path here because restricted free agents tend to stay with their teams. If I'm OKC, I'm trading those guys to anyone but the Lakers, like anyone but the top of the West, right? So there's risk in this. If they don't land Giannis, if they don't land a restricted free agent, if they don't trade for a starter, all of a sudden it's a game of musical chairs, and you're kind of in a tough spot where you might have to run it back with the same group. As for LeBron, I do think he's going to be taking a pay cut, whether it's with the Lakers or someone else. I think it's too early to tell what that's going to be. If they land Giannis, I think that probably spells the end of LeBron being there, unless he signs for the vet minimum, which feels like that's a little bit too low for him. I think he wants a little bit more than that if he continues to play, but certainly he's not getting the 50 million this summer, and 25 might even be a little high, depending on one of the other things with the deadlines. Now there's fewer teams with cap space. If you look at who actually has cap space, not many suitors out there. So there will always be interest in LeBron, but from a cap perspective, there's just not a lot of money out there.
There's never been a player in a better position to take a haircut on his salary than LeBron James, ... a billionaire. Okay. If any player has been in a position to take a little bit less, it is LeBron James. Yovan, really appreciate your time. Phenomenal intel as usual. Thank you for joining us here on Deadline Day, the Luke Kennard of it all. And Yovan, we'll be in touch, man. Tell them about your podcast. Tell them about Buha's Block and how everybody can watch your podcast.
Yeah, just search Yovan Buha, Jovan Buha, or Buha's Block on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and check it out there. I just did a Deadline show for almost 3 hours, so that'll be up on audio platforms soon. But appreciate you guys for having me, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Well, then I'm even happier about wrapping up after 15 minutes. You just did a 3-hour show. Yovan, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, guys.
All right, peace. AM, I did not forget you. You have not opined on Luke Kennard. Is he a needle mover or not for the Los Angeles? I wrote it down. I got notes right here. So is Luke Kennard a needle mover for the Lakers?
Mute.
Am I on mute? Am I on mute? I was on mute.
You're
Sorry
not.
about that. I was muted because I was eating a couple oranges here. I needed some juice in the system.
There you go. Some hydration.
Kai saw me, so it was like, yeah. Okay. I mean, the short answer is yes, because of what we were discussing with Johan. It's not, again, he's not a needle mover just bringing Luke Kennard over. That's pretty obvious. But the move of getting off Gabe Vincent's contract and bringing back Luke Kennard was just enough to bring the Lakers under the first apron. There is a second move to be made here, depending on who's waived and who they could bring in the building. Please don't tell me it's Lonzo Ball after you spent the second pick on him so many years ago, and now you're bringing him back to play no defense for you yet again. This is about bringing some defender into the building, and who shakes loose and who are they willing to spend some money on for the rest of the season. That will move the needle when the time comes and it counts in the playoffs. So the move itself is a needle mover. Luke Kennard, not moving many needles.
Great answer, man. Great answer. All right, fellas. Let's go around the table with a rant right here. And just kind of get any last thing off your chest. The last thing I want to talk about here is the Nikola Vucevic trade out to Boston, right? Simons goes to Chicago with the second. Vuce goes to the Boston Celtics. This year, Vuce is at 17 points and 9 rebounds. Still one of the league leaders in double-doubles. He plays every game. He's available. So I wonder if the addition of Vucevic puts pressure on a Tatum comeback, okay? Or if the Vuce trade is a signal from Boston management that Tatum's coming back. And so that's why we're doing this. Either way, this is really simple for me. If Jason Tatum can never regain full medical clearance between now and June, then he can't play and there's nothing more to see here. However, if Jason Tatum is medically cleared to play and he still doesn't want to play despite that clearance, citing the mental hurdle that all athletes face when coming back from a big-time injury, I'm going to be very, very disappointed with that decision, and it will linger with me. Here's why. If Tatum returns at even 80%, especially now that you got Vucevic, who I like a lot, defensively, not great, but you got Katie. He's going to block some shots. Vuce will be your stretch 5. He's going to kill it in Boston. They're going to freaking love that guy. But if you can get Tatum back at even 80%, the Celtics can legitimately win the gold ball this year. This is not pie in the sky. They could beat OKC. They could beat Santa Ana. They could beat Houston. They can beat anybody in the East if everybody's healthy and you have Tatum at least 80%. Okay? So if you have that opportunity, all right, you got to come back for that. You got to get over that mental hurdle. I had a torn ACL. Okay, I had to get over a mental hurdle as well. I get it. It's different. He's a pro athlete, and I'm a weekend warrior. I get it. But I can relate to what that's about. Okay, first time I played pickup ball, which was 7 months after surgery, I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. Cutting, moving laterally. Actually, I was defending, and I fell down on my right knee, with bone to floor kind of thing, and I was like, I didn't die. I'm okay. Okay, so I get that, all right? But if you have a chance to win a championship and you've been medically cleared, you got to come back and play. You have to find a way to get over that mental hurdle. That's what Kobe would have done, and that's what Jordan would have done, and you have to have that strong mentality to overcome that hurdle. Think about this, man. Jason Tatum talks about Kobe all the time. He's a Kobe disciple, okay? So again, I'm bringing this up right now because the Vuce trade, but also that recent report we got that Jason Tatum was kind of vacillating on whether he was going to return this year or not. Okay, again, if he doesn't gain full medical clearance, all bets are off. But if he is medically cleared, then I'm going to be like, okay, when's he playing? So just putting that out there, guys. I hope none of this comes to fruition. I hope we get a report next week that Tatum that Boston's feeling good about bringing him back after the All-Star break. But that's my rant. Let's go to Dwight Walton. Dwight, get off your chest anything you want right now.
No rant today, fellas. We've had a great trade deadline week. We didn't have the huge trade deadline day move, but overall, as Yovan said, we've had over 20 trades who have moved needles for various fan bases. It's nice to see the Washington Wizards and the Utah Jazz back on the map. There are some question marks in terms of players that are going to be available, in terms of injury. I do understand that, but it's nice to have the DMV talking about basketball. It's nice to have the state of Utah talking about basketball once again. Both of these franchises are relevant. Kudos to Will Dawkins, the GM of the Washington Wizards, and of course, the great snake in the grass Danny Ainge that he is. And I mean that in the most complimentary of ways, to get these guys, these teams back on the map. Let's revisit this conversation over the next couple of years to see where these moves to this week have these franchises. But it's nice to see these two teams back in relevancy. Also want to give a huge shout out to the Charlotte Hornets, who have put themselves not only in the play-in mix, but they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. I would have never said that 2 months ago, but it's nice to see head coach Charles Lee and that young core in Charlotte being led by Brandon Miller and Con Knipple. LaMelo Ball has come to the table realizing or recognizing, you know what? I got to conform because these young boys are playing well. Miles Bridges is sort of the adult in the room. Now they've got Kobe White in the mix. They're going to make some noise, fellas. I'm looking forward to that. These young franchises, man, the NBA is in a great place. I am happy to see it. And the NBA, the parity, the youth movement, the versatility, the skill set, the athleticism, the shooting prowess, the NBA is in a great state. I look forward to seeing the upcoming years.
Well done, Dwight. So essentially, welcome back, Wizards and Jazz. We missed you for like a presidential cycle. Think about it. It was like 4 years, dude. Like a presidential cycle. You were lost and forgotten. That's an excellent point, man. Utah and Washington, I love what they've done here as well. And Pfeffer, give me a rant.
I'm going to talk to some of the teams in the NBA. That's where I'm going with this. There are 4 that jump out at me that are like, after all was said and done with the trade line, there's 4 that are super interesting to me. And we're going to start, obviously, with the Bucks because, well, they didn't move off of Giannis. But you know what? Good for them. In the long run, as much as all of us were waiting to see it and excited and expected to see him move, there really wasn't any rush on their part. They are so bereft of draft picks and other assets. And we know what the deal is with the wave and stretch with Lillard. There's, once they get off Giannis, they're going to be irrelevant. Keep yourself relevant for the rest of this year if you want. I'd shut him down for the rest of the year so you don't risk it because he is your one asset. Move him in the summer. Let's see what happens. You're probably not going to get as many picks as you want for him, but I'm curious to see ultimately what you do. Let's move down to Washington. Shut down AD and Trey for the rest of the year. Don't even think about it. Don't even question. I don't want to see them grace the court, not once, not 1 minute this year. We can all wait until 2027. Why? Well, you're already bottom of the barrel. Alex Sarr fell to you, and he's something to build off of. I hope to make this work, and I do hope you're relevant again. I really do, but to make this work, you have to be a top 5, possibly top 4 pick. You need one of those blue chippers out of college. I hope they land on your team. You bring everyone together and then bring those guys back next year, and we'll see where this goes. It's going to be interesting. The Chicago Bulls, we didn't really get to them, but man, I've been watching them. I still favor them as a Giannis destination, even over the summer when all's said and done, because to me, look at what they have on the roster. It is insane with the guards, but not just guards, guys who are coming off the books. I've spoken about this a number of times. Now that Vucevic is gone, it's so clear that Josh Giddey is the only guy who's even remotely being paid on your books for a period of time, for 4 years, only at $25 million a year. Yeah, Jaden Ivey has an opportunity to make money. Yeah, Sexton has an opportunity to make money. All these guys, it just depends who ultimately you're going to keep. But everybody is effectively an unrestricted free agent next year. Now, the only thing to me is you made all these moves and then didn't move them again at the trade line. You moved some of the guys, but didn't move all of them for the big swing. So I don't know who you're ultimately going to let go or who you're going to try to negotiate. This is interesting to me. Also, you accumulated 9 second-round picks through this. Let's not forget about that, guys. I'm going to say that again. A part of their trade packages was accumulating 9 second-round picks at the trade line, and that was insane. And I'm going to end with Golden State. This is what I want to say. This is really my rant, Rick. I'm glad it's over. I really am. I secretly didn't want them to land Giannis. I don't want this to go on any longer. I don't want to see Steve Kerr on that sideline and I'm going to bring a little more some Yiddish back for you. I don't want to see his Fabissina face yet again next year, upset, skulking up and down that sideline. You're not gonna re-sign Kristaps Porzingis. Get off of Jimmy. Let Steph go so he could chase a ring with San Antonio, whoever else, for the next 2 years. Kuminga's gone. Draymond's over. It's over, my friends. And I got to tell you, I feel a sigh of relief. I just didn't want this to go on any further. It's all got to end 2 to 3 months from now. Limp into the playoffs. Steph, do your thing. But, we've all had enough. It was a great run. Thanks for the time.
Shoot, they ain't making the playoffs. I can tell you that right now. They ain't winning out of the PIT, man. With after
right.
each trade, Porzingis won't be available. He'll have some illness or something. Come on. But I love that. It just quick piggyback. Trace Jackson Davis got traded to the Toronto Raptors. I'm a fan. TJD
So
is a thing. He is a double waiting to happen. He dunked on Wemby. He dunked on Wemby.
Indiana University, baby.
Who dunks on Wemby? So I love that TJD and Kuminga are outside of Kerr's reign of terror, and I agree. Look, I've been saying this for 2-3 years. Steph Curry needs to ask out of Golden State, or you will finish your career like Kobe Bryant did as a roller coaster at an amusement park and just a cash cow. That's all you will be. Okay, go try to win ring number 5. B-Dot, the floor is yours, brother.
Nah, piggyback off Rick, 80 million in cap space, 80 million plus in cap space is upcoming summer for them Chicago Bulls. They really have 25, 27 million guaranteed, which you already mentioned was Josh Giddey. And yeah, the Raptors, much help as they can. They had the game last night in their pocket, controlled the game all game. And Edwards only had 17 points going into the fourth. Next thing you know, he ended up with 38-8, and they ended up losing. So as much as I love the Raptors, as much help they can get. But let's go ahead and get to it to close the show off, okay? Everybody's mad at the trade deadline like it owed them something. Giannis didn't get traded. Ja didn't move. Golden State didn't save Steph. Why didn't my team go all in? Because this isn't 2K NBA franchise mode, okay? That's why. Y'all want chaos. Front offices want job security. The trade deadline didn't flop. It exposed reality. Giannis stayed because nobody was about to mortgage the next decade just to say, we tried. Ja stayed because talent still beats Twitter timelines. And Golden State didn't magically get better because nostalgia is not a trade asset. You know what actually happened? Teams finally stopped panic buying. Owners finally said, nah, I like my money where it is. And front offices realized one bad deadline move gets you fired faster than one quiet moment, okay? And we seen that with Nico, right? So the owners were steady and all right, let me chill, let me figure this out. GM's also, let me do the right thing. Meanwhile, fans screaming, do something. Bro, sometimes doing nothing is the move. The deadline used to be about boldness. Now it's about risk management. And the funniest part, the same fans begging for blockbuster trades are the first ones yelling, man, that was the worst trade ever. 3 weeks late. You don't want smart basketball decisions. You want dopamine, okay? And the league finally told you, no. Nah. So no, the deadline didn't suck. It just didn't entertain you. And that might be the most honest thing the NBA's done all season. And that's my rant.
Dot, before Rick speaks, amen. That line was a mic drop where the same fans that want to trade are the first ones to complain. I'm on a group chat right now. I had to call them out, man, just for that. It's incredible how they question everything and then they still want everything at the same time. Anyway, that's another topic, but thank you for that. That was a mic drop. Well done.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you guys.
And fans want every coach to go for every fourth down in the NFL. But then when you go for it on 4th and 1 and you don't get it, then they call up the radio show on Monday and they want the guy fired for going for it on 4th down instead of taking the field goal. But they were half drunk on their couch. Go for it. Go for it. It's fans, man. It's short for fanatic, right?
No pleasing
guys,
him at all. No pleasing him at all.
Whew. This has been an epic freaking show. You guys are amazing. I want to applaud A.M. Pfeffer, Dwight Walton, Brandon Armstrong, Dr. X, who's traveling right now. You guys phenomenal, literally phenomenal, in the zone, lit like a candle all day. Huge thanks to our guests, Mitch Lawrence, Coach James Young, Jovan Buha, and the great Ryan Hollins for dropping by. Big thanks to our producer, Jason Arambulo, our technical director, Kai Josephson, been working their butts off, helping to bring this to you. And we love all of you. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel, X-Rated Sports Network, and our show is Beyond the Surface, of course. Like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. We will see you again Monday, live from our LA studios where A.M. Pfeffer is right now at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific, and we will see you then. Peace out, everybody.